What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Chris and Sheree Gio here, coming to you from Beyond the Veil. We have been researching for a series of shows that we want to do in October, but there is just so much to go over that we figured we'd go ahead and do a show tonight. One video in particular, and this came out several months ago, so it may be old news to some, but we've dug deep into what actually happened in this time with this lady named Tiffany Gomez, Gomas. And we have some interesting personal experiences to share as well. The video that I'm referring to is the one where she's on the airplane and she's saying, stop the plane, he's not real, he's not real. You've probably seen this circulating around. However, we found another video of somebody who was talking about what she was actually talking to, or who she was actually talking to. I think that was a Freudian slip there. What she was actually talking to, and what actually transpired. And then I started looking at further and further and further and further. And the way this show started to come together is Cherie's been doing a lot of research on demons, demonology. We've got a book called The Dictionary of Demons that the author, I don't remember her name, but we had her on a while back. She's awesome person. But she was going through the Dictionary of Demons and kind of trying to figure out what's going on in the air. Because demons are known as the lords of the air. And there are so many freakouts going on airplanes. It reminds me of that other lady. I don't remember her name off the top of my head. She's the blonde lady that said, this is a big thought experiment. It's a big thought experiment.
Oh, yeah.
And then she was found dead a couple of days later. She basically, was touted around as breaking the matrix. But Tiffany Gomez is like the same, cut from the same cloth from what I can tell. She's in marketing. She's not, she's kind of mainstream, not really in our arena, anything like that. And had this really, really interesting encounter on an airplane that made me wonder, is this a result of what people have had stuck in their arms, or has some kind of floodgate opened to where there are energies coming in from another realm and invading the space and invading the airways on top of that? So let's get into it.
The sky so far away tonight, but I can't lose this one. Got a pride of a falling night. Thought that I was fit to fight for us to be. You gave me life for loving me. Tell me, where did we go so wrong?
Raw consciousness does not require a savior, but rather, raw consciousness requires only knowledge of oneself and the power to access it. Remember this, as we unlock an even greater gnosis from beyond the veil.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get into this here on Beyond the Veil. We're going to go a little bit dark tonight and talk about some either AI energies or perhaps some demonic energies from beyond the veil. Some kind of floodgate has been opened. And as I mentioned in the intro, Sheree and I have been looking into demonology and things like that, putting together a series of shows for October, and came across some interesting things that are happening in the air. What do you think?
Oh, there's definitely interesting things happening in the air, on the ground, underground. I think in the places where humans usually don't tread very often, or they're not very naturally in, I think you'll find more paranormal things, whether it's underground, in tunnels, or above in the air, in airplanes. Weird things happen in airplanes at an increasingly frequent rate. And I've noticed this happening more and more and more. I do not think that this has anything to do with, and I think this is separate from, I think it may have a little bit to do with the vacation, but I think there is definitely something paranormal going on
because
along
it's not
with
just
it.
her.
Yeah, it's not just
one video after another that we were finding.
These are multiple
and where
events.
it all kind of linked up together is when we were going through the Dictionary of Demons, and you were going through all the different demons and everything. It's they're called the Lords of the Air, and we've always known this. You know, they travel through the air. Whether it doesn't matter what religious philosophy you look at, they all say that they travel through the air. So let me play this video really quick. People have probably seen it, but we have some background to this as well, and it's really, really, really creepy. So this is the original video that came out a few months ago.
Stop the plane! Stop the plane! Stop the plane! Not going to. Not going to. Not going to. Nope. Nope. No. So what's going on? No. Stop it. Stop it. No. I need to get the off this plane right now. I need to get the off this plane. See what happens. See what happens after this. See what happens.
Where's your bag? Is your bag still over there? Yes.
See what the happens after
She has a bag underneath.
I don't even give a about my shit.
Call anybody on her.
License verified, disarm door, stand by for all call.
I need to know where she's originally supposed to be sitting. So you guys have how many seats? 5. I'm a licensed attorney, so just be careful. I'm a licensed attorney.
This is the full video. People have just been seeing little bitty
I'm telling
sections
you,
of it,
getting the
but
off, and there's a reason why I'm getting the off, and everyone can either believe it or they cannot believe it. I don't give two but I am telling you right now, that mother back there is not real. And you can sit on this plane and you can die with them or not. I'm not going to.
thank you for the super chat, Desert Nebula.
Thank you, Desert.
Who's that woman, and why is her hands in that esoteric position? Who dresses like that on an airplane? Where she now? Fake alien invasion stuff. So many questions. I'm glad you asked. The woman behind the viral airplane meltdown, where she proclaimed that MF or back there is not real, is a Texas marketing executive who told police that the rant was sparked by an argument over headphones. The bizarre, expletive-laden meltdown that went viral in July reportedly occurred as the flight was preparing to depart DFW. Tiffany Gomez, 38, a Dallas resident and graduate of Oklahoma State University, was kicked off the plane following her outburst, which led to hours of delay for other passengers, reported by the New York Post. The 38-year-old is not willing to leave the American Airlines flight and had to be removed by the staff. So I found some body cam footage of her talking to the police that I actually forgot to pull up. So let me see. Body cam footage, Tiffany Gomez. So it gets even deeper than this, but supposedly it all started over some headphones or something like that.
Okay.
But we have another video with some testimony, and there's also a weird twist here too. Carrot Top, the performer,
Carrot Top was apparently on that
was
plane.
on the plane with her. Like, you can't make this up. This is crazy. So this is the body cam footage here. Did you want to say something?
Well, I
before
just
we get into
wanted to
this?
say real quick. Well, maybe I'll wait till after you're done, because people are saying, "Oh, this is nonsense," because she did a video saying that it was all nonsense. Just hold that thought.
I got more.
We have more. Hold
We've got
on.
more.
Just hold on.
We've got more. Okay.
Hold your heckling.
So this is afterwards, right? She is dead set on not getting on this plane.
Ever again. I want to know what happens to this flight right here.
They're gonna escort you out, so just let me get
Great.
a phone without saying what.
Great. I don't ever want to fly with you ever again.
All right, ma'am.
Escorting me out and I'll never
Her
fly.
demeanor does not look fake
Since
to
you no
me.
longer have a valid ticket or business on this side of the airport, we gotta escort you out to the public side, okay?
Where's your suitcase?
You ready?
It's on that flight.
If you don't leave, you'll be under arrest for criminal trespass. This is your warning right here.
Okay. Just watch.
So she's dead serious. Like,
She's serious
she
as a
saw
heart
something
attack.
that spooked her. And it reminds me of, thank you very much, Elephant Tusks, Aaron Valenti.
Ma'am, if you don't leave right now, you could be under arrest for criminal trespass.
Aaron Valenti was the one who said we're living in a big thought experiment, called her parents, said we're living in a matrix. was found dead 3 days later in the backseat of a rental car.
Right.
Being dead serious. Do not let that flight leave.
Now look at her
You ready?
face
So
very
She seriously
carefully. Look at her
spooked. She
face very
seriously spooked about something.
Yeah, look at her facial features very carefully.
Do not let that flight leave. That flight's not going to make it to Orlando.
Let's
It's
go.
not going to.
See, her even saying that
DFW to Orlando.
should have,
So
her even
she's-
saying that should have set off alarms of some sort where they're like, okay, we need to investigate this further. Instead, they're like, okay, just get out of here, get out of here. That doesn't make sense to me.
That was kind of weird. Now, she did an apology video, okay? And so I wasn't sure at the time if this was the same person or not. You know, I've got to be hyper skeptical because that's what we do here. But she did an apology video. So as part of, well, let me play the apology video first.
Yeah.
Everyone, it's me, Tiffany Gomez, probably better known as the Crazy Plane Lady, which is completely warranted. As you know, I have been unwilling to speak on the viral video, but I do finally feel that it's time. First and foremost, I
Misty World nailed
want
it.
to take full accountability for my actions. They were
Okay, so what's said in the video is really kind of irrelevant to the point that we're making here. I mean, obviously, it's very relevant to her and her story, but the point that we're making here. Okay, so we're downstairs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is earlier this morning, and I was like, okay, fuck it, we're doing the show today. We were researching for the show. We've got the Dictionary of Demons out, right? We've got the Ouija board right on our coffee table. Okay, we just got done with the Ouija board session. We're looking this stuff up. I put this video on, right? And as soon as I put this video on, I start looking at her, and I'm like, that's not her. That's a freaking reptilian. As soon as I said the word reptilian, I heard this huge hiss.
It was a
and
hiss
it was a
or
low
like a
growling
growl.
hiss.
It was. I was like,
coming
oh my god!
right from behind me while I'm in front of the Ouija
I
board,
thought it
right?
was the cats or something.
I thought it was the cats too. I walk into the bedroom. The cats are both sleeping by themselves on the
Separately,
bed,
on the bed, completely
chilled. They're
chill
laid out
out.
like the freaking caterpillar from Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah,
Okay, I
no,
walk
have
in there
no
and they're
movement
like,
at all.
Who are you? You know, I mean, and I'm like, okay, so it's not the cats. What the fuck just happened? And we both look at each other and we high-fived each other. We were like, yes.
yes.
Because I have been telling the Ouija board, I want to see some paranormal shit for the last week. And finally, as soon as I pointed this out, I said, that's a reptilian.
That's a reptilian.
On top of the word reptilian.
It was like, what the?
This huge growling, hissing noise. I wish I had the camera on.
Like banged
I
something.
wish I had
and
the camera on.
And I looked around for anything that had fallen, anything that had moved, nothing. It was nothing had moved. It was completely. Oh my God. It was confirmation. I've
I
never.
thought it was the cats.
Nothing
But seeing
like
the cats
that's ever
chilled
happened
out on the
before
bed
in my
like
life.
that was the craziest thing, because you would imagine the cats would be startled by something like that.
Yeah.
But they weren't. They were sitting there chilling like the freaking caterpillar from Alice in Wonderland. You and I were just looking at each other like, yes, this is awesome.
Yes, exactly. And you know what? I think they either used. I don't think that's the same woman at all. Period. Like the woman who played. I don't even think that's the way she says her last name. It's Gomez, not Gomez. I'm Tiffany Gomez.
You know what? Okay, so
You know,
I've got.
I think that's
I've got
totally
the apology
fake.
video
I
here.
think that's fake as.
I've got the apology video here, and then I've got her video here. At first glance on the TV, because I'm sitting back on the couch watching it on the TV, it looks like it might not be her. I'm leaning more towards it as her doing the apology video.
Really?
But maybe
Her
not.
face looks way too
Her face
thin.
does look different.
Yeah.
I'm trying to
and
find
her voice even sounds different.
I'm trying to find in this video because okay, so with the airplane video, right? You can't really see her face the way you can here. I mean, I'm sorry, in the body cam footage video, you can't really see her face, but from the profile, it does look more like her, does it not? See? From the profile, it
On the
does
plane,
look more
though,
like her. On
look
the
at
plane,
the plane video though is
the
different.
plane, she looks blonde. Okay,
It
but
looks totally different.
I don't
in
want
the
to
plane
get
video.
into that territory of
Your ears don't lie.
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
I don't want to be like that
territory
either.
of-
But I do not think that it's. I do not think that's her.
I'm trying to find her in the like on the plane. Oh, that was another video of the same thing.
Yeah, a lot of
but
people are
on the plane.
disagreeing, and yeah,
Okay, so
people are split
okay,
right down the middle. on
okay,
it.
so she was somebody saw her later, right? And when they saw her later, they interviewed her really quick and just asked her a couple questions. Her response to this is what made me raise an eyebrow and go, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And then the other guy who did a video who was there witnessing it, talking about who she talked to,
Yes.
was what really made me go, okay, fuck it, we're doing this every night.
Something's going on here.
Okay, so check this out. This is the
This is how
apology
toxic.
video that this fucker sold to TMZ. I mean, I don't blame him. Adam, what's up, man? Thank you for the super chat.
Oh, thank you, Adam.
Okay, so check this out.
I mean, I gotta ask you, how does it feel to be traveling again?
Great.
You know, in the airport again after what you went through.
A little bit of anxiety, but it's been good. Yeah.
Are you doing anything differently? Like, you know,
listen to what she says
when you're getting ready to travel, or when you're, was there any new techniques you used?
No.
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 And a lot of people are curious.
Yeah.
What exactly you saw? Because you know, you alluded to what you saw, but like,
okay, listen really closely to what she says here.
We just want to know, like, you know, what did you see?
Look at that face. That face is like, yeah, I don't want to talk about this, but I'm on camera, so
What did you see?
I have to think of something to say.
What did you see?
That's the kind of face a girl would make if somebody's asking her for a number. She's like, I got a boyfriend. You know, that's the I got a boyfriend face.
Right.
I mean, thanks for asking that, but I have been told that I cannot comment on it right now.
I've been told that I cannot
can't
comment on
it.
Who told her this? Because it wasn't American Airlines that told her this.
Right.
I looked it up, and there was nothing by American Airlines saying she can't talk about this, right? It gets even better.
I see.
I'm sorry.
Are you going to, like, you know, have a full kind of interview somewhere, or like, what's going on? What's the deal? What's the plan on?
The rate it's going, I feel like it's going to have to happen.
Yeah.
So yes,
We should reach out to her and get her on the show.
Yeah, we should. She needs to answer some questions.
Listen.
But I've been trying to like lay low for the most part, but reporters wouldn't let that happen. So
yeah. Well,
like I was somewhat strong-armed into speaking, and now here we are.
Well, I do want to know. Like, I mean, you won't say to me what you saw right now.
Yeah.
You can't. All right, just got her too. Yeah. Well, but what about, like, what was the reason that you
23
wanted to
on
get
the pole
off
in
so
the background,
bad?
and 23 in the background
Again,
on the plane.
Can't speak on that right now, but
Understood.
I was distressed, and I was getting off the plane. No matter what, I just probably didn't need to make the scene that I made.
Right.
Okay, did you hear what she said?
Mm-hmm.
I was getting off the plane no matter what. I just wish I hadn't made the scene.
Yep.
That stuck out to me big time.
That stuck out to me
and it
big
made me
time,
go,
too.
what the hell did she actually
What
see?
did she see?
On that plane?
What
I
did
was
she
getting off
see?
the plane.
Listen.
No matter what,
She saw
I just
something.
probably didn't need to make the scene that I made.
Right.
But
One more time.
I was getting off the plane. No matter what.
I was getting off the plane no matter what.
Yeah.
So whatever she saw,
It
she was dead
was-
set on
She
getting
didn't
off
care
the plane.
about losing that money. She didn't care about anything else except getting
Nick
off
Bravo,
that plane.
what's up? She
Aw,
said
Nick
maybe
Bravo.
she thought Carrot Top wasn't real. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. Like,
You really
Carrot
can't.
Top was seriously on this airplane. Like, you know, I got
That's
the
just so
I got the
bizarre.
video here. Isn't that the weirdest thing?
That's so.
I mean, at first I thought she saw Carrot Top, and she's like, okay, I'm not getting on that freaking plane. But it wasn't Carrot Top that she saw.
Yeah.
We'll get to what she saw in a second. Let me see if I can get this.
Hi everyone, I just want to let you know I made it home. I'm in my bed. This is what it would be like laying next to me in my bed. Come here.
That's why I stopped doing my nails black.
My hat's off to everyone at American Airlines today for how they handled the situation when that nut job just lost her mind in front of the whole plane. And 5 hours later, we're here in Orlando, and I hope you're having a relaxing evening behind bars in Dallas, Texas. And
Okay, so we don't need to go too much into that. But the thing is, she didn't go to jail. She wasn't arrested. There was nothing.
Nothing.
I mean, if you think about it, she really wasn't that out of order. I mean, she was yelling, but she really didn't make a fuss. And it wasn't like she was refusing to get off the plane. She was like, I want off this plane.
Yeah.
So
you guys can stay if you want, but
what the hell did she actually see?
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you want to comment before we get into that? Because there's another video from an eyewitness who was there who actually details what she saw.
I want to go into that, and I think everybody in the chat does too, because they want to know if there's anybody else that can corroborate her story, or who can, detail even what she was saying, or outside of what we were hearing.
I will, but we got to get some more super chats going.
Yeah, no, seriously,
we're not going to do that to you guys.
But
okay,
seriously though,
so
other people have asked the question too. Was it Carrot Top that she was saying wasn't real? Other people have asked this question too. Did she think Carrot Top wasn't real? It was not over. I do not believe it was over an AirPod. I think that is the BS psyop story that makes everybody. That's usually like all the skeptics, they just go, oh, okay, the simplest explanation is usually the right one. However, when you see things happening over and over and over and over again, to the point where people are opening up airplanes while they're in the sky because they're so concerned, we have a problem with these things actually existing and freaking people out. Whether this is somehow they're getting into people's heads, or people are having premonitions about things happening.
There's something,
I'm not sure.
But I actually have some footage of somebody filming what she saw on the plane. Should I play it?
Go ahead.
Enough is enough! I have had it with these motherfucking snakes on this motherfucking plane! Everybody...
That's exactly what she saw. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. Seriously, though, here's the footage of the guy talking about what he saw and who she was talking to, right?
Yeah.
So check this out.
Before she really started getting frantic, like was paying attention to this, but that makes sense. It was like a normal flight. This was after putting all the luggage away. We'd been on the plane for a little bit. It was before the flight attendant came over and gave the little spiel. And what I remember is she was having like a full-blown conversation with this dude in the hoodie. I'll call him the hoodie guy. She was having a full-blown conversation with hoodie guy. The weird thing was that he never once said a word to her the whole time. And at the time, I don't know, I wasn't really thinking about it. But it's like she would say something and he like would respond, but there was no exchange happening. It was just her getting more and more frantic. Which, okay, if she's drunk and she's going crazy, then you would think the dude in the hoodie would have been like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? But he was just like dead locked on her, like deep eye contact with her, like I don't want to feed into the conspiracies here, but like almost like she was like in a hypnosis type of thing. And she started getting more and more frantic, to the point where then people started kind of noticing. Flight attendant came over, tried to calm her down, like, what's going on? She sat back down, but she kept looking over at this dude in the hoodie, and finally she was like done with it. And that's like when I really started paying attention, like, okay, what's going on? And that's when she was like, I can't do this. She started getting up. She started walking up to the front. And then the whole video thing happened. I didn't take a video of it. I was listening to a Stephen King audiobook. I wasn't like pulling out my phone to record this. And she didn't seem drunk to me, by the way. Just throwing that out there. I didn't see her drink. I mean, she seemed totally normal to me up until that point. The weird thing was, after she left the plane, the dude in the hoodie, which the flight attendant was like, did anything happen? And he still didn't say a word. He just went like, and like shrugged. The dude in the hoodie like looked around the plane, and he looked back at me, and he winked at me. And again, I didn't quite register it. I was like, okay, what the fuck was that about? I was like, maybe he's just being like, and it's like winking, like that was weird, wasn't it? But now that I look back, I realized that when he winked at me, and it was his left eye looking back at me, it didn't wink like this. It winked like this.
Okay, so you take that for what it's worth. There's some people in the chat saying that this guy was never on the plane, but
proven by who?
I don't know where the proof is.
Where's that proof? Okay, number one.
I'm
Number
just
two,
going by the info that I have.
people
here.
are saying, well, she sounds like she was drunk. Yeah, but they call it spirits for a reason.
She doesn't seem drunk.
She doesn't seem drunk to me. She seems like she's in a panic because she's scared.
Right.
I sound like that when I'm in a panic mode and I'm frantic. And I'm trying to get out of a situation.
Again, can't speak on that right now, but I was distressed and I was getting off the plane.
She's
no
calm
matter what.
in this
I was
situation,
getting
if
off
that's
the plane,
even her.
no matter what.
I was getting off the plane no matter what.
Now, you take this by itself, okay, maybe it's a one-off thing, but the thing is, it's not a one-off thing. there are so many instances of this happening. Okay. Here's a video clip from South Korea, and a guy on an airplane decides to open the door. And these are all recent clips. A guy on the plane decides to open the door and jump out of the airplane.
He is that serious.
Okay, I've got a couple more clips of people threatening to open the doors, but this guy actually opened the door.
Somebody said, "What about is this the guy freaking out in the Chinese airplane?" He saw 2 staff members with their abdomens open and saw them moving gears around like synthetic humanoids.
I don't know. All this is the door open.
I'm just saying. Other people are saying that this is really happening, guys. This is not sensationalism.
Oh, I'm sorry. I take that back. He didn't jump out.
He didn't jump out. He tried to.
There was another guy that was.
He wanted to.
There's so many of these. That's the thing. There's so many of these.
Yeah, that's the problem. If this was happening once, it'd be one thing. But
how creepy would that be?
This
to be
keeps
on an
happening.
airplane
People
and all of a
keep freaking out on
sudden some
planes.
guy opens a door, and now you're holding on because that's all, sucking everything out. It's sucking the air out. Everybody's being pulled there. They're like holding on.
How do you know? Can you read us your source?
And this guy
We have no more
arrested
sources.
and said not to be drunk.
Yeah, he wasn't drunk.
Here's another one on British Airways. This is a British boxer. He attempts to just exit the plane mid-air.
Oh, the mask didn't drop down because they were only 850 feet in
They
the
were
air.
landing,
If they had been higher, they would have, but they weren't high enough to require oxygen. So that's why the oxygen
Here's
in the mask
another
didn't fall. It was while they were landing.
Look at everyone filming, man. What's wrong? Whoa.
He's scared. Now, is this guy angry or is he frightened? And it's coming across as anger, but he's really petrified.
I don't know, but a lot of people are freaking out on airplanes.
They're petrified of something.
Yeah. They're seeing something.
They're seeing something
And
that's
it's happening
petrifying
over
them.
and over and over again. Here's another one.
Leaves of Grass. That is kind of why we wanted to do a show.
Don't kill me then, or don't approach me, because I'm Balthazar. As renamed by God Balthazar, since I'm taking over this plane. Oh my god.
Dude, I'm telling you right now.
Oh no.
I'm telling you right now.
What the fuck? This guy's saying he's a demon or an angel or something like that. He's taking over the plane mid-flight, and he goes to open the door. What the hell's going on with these people?
I'm sorry, but there's a lot of. Someone said, "Okay, well, he's insane." There's a lot of insane going on right now. Don't you think? Don't you think that there's just a little more than usual?
Oh, there's an abundance of it.
Of
I mean,
insane.
Ever since that thing in the arm,
What
people have
pe-
lost their minds.
You know what?
I think it's esoteric. I think it's
Totally.
it's multidimensional.
They're
It's
seeing
not
multidimensional
just-
things happening.
Yeah, it's not just neurological things. It's a multidimensional thing where gateways have been opened within people, and energies are inhabiting these people.
Yeah,
and they're coming and going, coming and going, coming and going.
Oh, it's a smorgasbord.
We've been watching so many senseless crimes lately that people have been reporting. I mean, completely and totally senseless. And there was one. Oh, I don't remember what her name was. She killed her mother, stabbed her 71 times, did a 2-hour interrogation, told the police that she denied who she was, and then they deemed her to have schizophrenia or something like that later, found her not guilty, due to insanity. And just over and over and over and over again. I mean, is this the way the world has always been? And because of modern technology, now we're seeing more of it? Or is this happening more often?
No, because we would have seen more of it earlier because it used to be
something very, very, very rare for suicide to happen, and even in Los Angeles, this the Cecil Hotel, for instance, they were very well documented. All these deaths were very well documented.
You want to hear the crazy thing? Okay,
Yeah,
this girl that
please.
I'm talking about, I can't remember her name. I'll look it up during the break. But she was 17 years old, 18 years
Uh-huh.
old. She murdered
Isabella Guzman.
Isabella Guzman. Okay.
I think her name is Isabella. Yeah.
She murdered her mother and stabbed her 71 times. Sat through the interrogation, told her that she was 15.
79 times.
79 times. So said that she was 15 years old. Said that she was a different person. And then after that, during her psych eval afterwards, she said that her mother wasn't really her mother. Her mother was a woman named Cecilia.
Uh-huh.
And that she had to kill her in order to stop the end of the world.
Hmm?
Okay, maybe she's batshit crazy, but isn't that a weird coincidence with the Cecil and Cecilia?
Uh-huh.
Which, when we saw that, we were like, okay, let's go through our dictionary of demons and let's see what do we have here around
Hold on.
Cecil and Cecilia and things like that. Because I know for a fact, I've talked about this before, a lot of things that we hear going out through the air, through the airwaves in mainstream media, are actually invocation rituals. And a lot of people are just they're ignorant to it, so they don't understand what exactly they're invoking when they say things over and over and over again. I've made the examples that Shekinah, for example, Shekinah from the Kabbalah. The root word of that is to settle, inhabit, and dwell. They were saying that over and over again. Shekinah in the Middle East. You had Isis, kill Isis, destroy Isis. Isis is the mother goddess, represents compassion, love, empathy, all of that. People lost their empathy, and there's just, people are chanting things over and over and over and over again, invoking these spirits, being unwitting pawns in this big magical ritual, which is mainstream media and life itself. So, what is going on now?
Well, here's the thing. There always seems to be a deeper story to everything, and the Isabella Guzman case is no different. What's interesting about that is that her parents were Jehovah's Witnesses, and Jehovah's Witnesses are very interesting in that they don't allow for medical treatment of any kind. Like they believe that God will heal or not heal, and if God doesn't heal you, it's just not God's will for you to live. And in a lot of cases, not all of them believe that nowadays. A lot of them are reforming that. But I knew a kid growing up that as Jehovah's Witness, and his parents didn't want him going to our church at all, like to the point where they were going to call the police and say that we like kidnapped him or something if we took him to
the strange thing is, this girl that I was referring to,
it was crazy.
Her parents were Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah.
And she said that she was being mistreated after she left the church and she was having to live. Just a little weird coincidence.
That's really
there.
interesting.
Yeah.
And she also said that in 2015 she was sexually assaulted by an employee at the mental health facility she was being held at. But they checked the records and there is no such record. And I'm wondering if they're doing that to a lot of kids that are in the system and not reporting it, and it's just going on and saying, "Oh, they're crazy." Of course they're saying that happened.
Yeah, for sure they cover it up.
I think that's happening all the time. And
that's energy harvest.
That alone, though, is it's feeding these entities. I do believe that these entities exist. They're part of the matrix. They're part of the system that was built, eons and eons ago, and they've been here the whole time. And sometimes they've been bound, but for the most part they haven't been bound. But they've never been evoked to this extent by something. And it's being evoked by something that's been installed inside of people's bodies willingly.
It seems to be a no holds barred. Like the floodgates have opened.
The floodgates have opened. It's like the days of Noah.
Yeah. You know what's weird is I was watching a Mandela Effect video. Random video, new Mandela Effects 2023. And it starts out by saying, many people believe that the world ended in 2012. When they fired CERN on.
Oh, that was
and they were
really
living inside of a simulation right now. And I was like, really? Many people believe this?
Uh-huh.
I thought there were a small
Wow.
few that knew this.
When
But
did you figure
now this
that
is becoming
out?
mainstream? Wow.
Uh-huh.
Okay, cool.
Finally.
But yeah, a lot of people are noticing since 2012, which reminds me of this kid that was talking. I think it was way back in like, I don't know if he said it before 2012 or after 2012, but the kid was like 10, 12 years old or something like that. Really smart kid. And he does this video and he says, you know, when they turn CERN on, it's going to mess with the molecules. You can describe it better than I can. I'll look for the video real quick.
It's going to cause a vacuum decay, a vacuum decay of some sort that destroys the universe. And it was Stephen Hawking with the Higgs boson. I'm looking up right now because that was
you know what's funny?
That was really interesting.
This guy was just recently in the
False vacuum decay.
No, I don't know if it was in the news, but I can play a little clip of this video real quick. It's 24 minutes, so obviously I'm not going to play the whole thing.
And machinery inside that tunnel sends beams of energy in a vast circle.
How the particle accelerator altered the weight of one electron and therefore destroyed our universe and shifted us into the universe that's directly next to it, and therefore things are different in this universe.
Could the latest revolution...
Yeah, that kid was onto something. I gotta
He
find out
was
where that
onto
video
something.
is
I would
and
like
when
to
it was
figure
posted.
out when it was posted, where he
We
is
covered
now.
it way back in the day, but
Yeah, it says it's called existential threat. If our universe is in a false vacuum state rather than a true vacuum state, then the decay from the less stable false vacuum to the more stable true vacuum, called false vacuum decay, could have dramatic consequences. The effects could range from complete cessation of existing fundamental forces, elementary particles, and structures comprising them, to subtle change in some cosmological parameters, mostly depending on the potential difference between true and false vacuum. So in other words, it's like it would cause everything in microseconds to just completely implode and cease to exist, because the fundamentals of physics no longer exist. And so I think he was definitely onto something. And in this new universe, or as I have been thinking more, it's more dramatic, but if we're in a simulation inside of a simulation, that's number one, it's a paradox, and number two, it may have been created without the knowledge that there's an underbelly to this. There's an under the tapestry of what makes this matrix what it is a dark. It's a darkness that I don't think they understood when they created it, and so they don't understand that these things have to be controlled in a certain way. And so it is literally like the days of Noah, where it's no holds barred, like you said, and the floodgates have opened and we have to close those floodgates again. And I think that's why if there is something that needed to happen at the Cecil, that's what was supposed to happen. The goetic powers needed to be put back into the vessel.
I don't know, but I can't find the original video because there's so many different re-uploads of it. His name is either Max Laughlin or Max Logan. I'm getting two different names here, but I've got this video here. It's 10 minutes. I don't know how much of it I'll play, but I remember we covered this way
How
back.
much do I think that I can explain the unexplainable?
Let me see if I can fast forward the copyright stuff. I don't know if this looks like a compilation. See, I can't find the original video.
A young genius who again made headlines with his bold claims about the organization. In this video, we'll explore the scientific achievements of CERN and its ongoing experiments, and delve into the fascinating theories put forth by Max Laughlin about the true nature of their research. CERN is one of the most prominent scientific institutions in the world, with a history dating back to the 1950s.
Okay, so this goes into CERN. Everybody knows all about that. I'll try to find the video even further. But my point is that, I mean, this kid was talking about how we're going to shift into a parallel universe way, way, way before anybody else was. And I think there's something to it.
I
I remember in 2012, the New Age was talking about how you have what's called walking containers, because people have shifted into quote unquote 5D reality, which is funny. So people are running around as walking containers. Right, fresh out of an ayahuasca experience, prior to me reading about this, which is what got me looking into this, is I walked outside and I went to the grocery store and I noticed some people had a light and some people didn't. And that's where the whole NPC organic consciousness revelation started to come to pass.
Right.
And I started to theorize that around 2012, 2013. And then other people were saying that there's walking containers because some people have been evacuated. What if consciousness was evacuated and pushed off into another dimension or another container? A container, listen to this, into a container to be transported somewhere. A bronze container?
Oh wow!
A golden container?
A brass container?
A brass container? What is that? What
Just
does that
like
sound like?
Just like we're, the demons.
You know what I'm talking about. I don't think the audience knows what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. When we were looking up the demons of the Goetia and all that stuff, they take them and they put them in a brass container.
In a brass container.
And contain them within an object. Which is why you have so many different objects that are quote unquote haunted or cursed or whatnot.
Right. And it was actually, up until Solomon did that, it was actually common to do what Jesus did in the Bible, which was put the demon, and this is what they still do to this day, is they, in places in the third world, is they transfer the demon from the person into an animal of some sort, like a pig or a goat or a possum or whatever, and then they kill that animal and thus kill the and release that spirit into the ether, where it's disembodied once again.
Can I divert for just a moment to something creepy? Because this kind of,
yes,
like, okay, this has
objects,
to be a simulation.
It can also go into an object.
There's one after another that keeps popping up, right? So this popped up here randomly, right? This is a Snow White statue in some park somewhere. Let me see. Statue of Snow White in an abandoned amusement park, Reno Magico, which means it's in Mexico. Okay. So they say that this statue is cursed, and people have filmed it blinking its eye. And so you'll see in this video, the statue appears to blink its eye. I'm not going to play the music because I don't know if it's copyright safe or not, but watch this. Maybe this isn't the blinking eye video.
I thought.
No, that's not it. That's not it. Okay, so strike that. Let me put blinking eye. Blinking eye. I've got all this in my history. I should have pulled it up, but let's try this one. Okay, here we go. Caught on camera.
Oh, there it is.
Okay.
Extranormal, llegaron estas impresionantes imágenes captadas en un parque de diversiones en el puerto.
Okay. And there's more to this, okay? It's not just this video, okay?
What kind of help is that?
It's an abandoned amusement park.
I know,
so
it
of course
doesn't
it's
even
going to be
look
creepy
like.
as hell.
I know it doesn't look like an amusement park though. Like it looks like it was built to be creepy.
The video that I found was less grainy. So yeah, you see that?
Yep.
You see where she blinks her eyes? Look at that. There you go.
I don't know what to think about that.
Okay, one more time. Let me play it in slow motion. Because it's got another connection to another video that just popped up from right here from Las Vegas. Okay. Slow motion. Boom. Blink of an eye. Okay. Now this is...
the eyes were following him in that other one. Toxic Angel pointed that out.
Oh, the eyes. Okay, the eyes were following him. And
in that other video, and
there was another
blinking.
one where.
They could be remote controlled mechanical eyeballs, but I don't think so.
Well, it's an abandoned amusement park. There's another one where they're exploring the amusement park, and maybe this is it. And no, this isn't it. So I'll just tell you about it. Okay, they're exploring the amusement park, and he goes in to go look for the statue. The statue's not there. You see something walking, and then the statue is out in the back.
Yeah, this is
as if somebody had taken it and put it in the back. Okay, now that's just the setup for what I'm getting to here. This is Katy Perry 10 months ago in Las Vegas. Okay, this is Katy Perry 10 months ago in Las Vegas.
Don't worry, Katy Perry isn't actually an extraterrestrial. The pop star is clearing up the conspiracy theories about her viral eye glitch after sparking concern and confusion during her recent concert. The singer reveals that her wonky eye was just a performance stunt as she announces 14 more dates for her Las Vegas
performance stunt.
A performance stunt? What? That's a lame excuse. When you and I were watching this, okay, we're like the biggest skeptics, right? Sherry was like, sometimes my contact gets stuck like that, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We're looking at all these different things. And she's like, you can't, when you're a performer, you can't touch your eye makeup. You can't touch your eye makeup and get all messed up. And so I was like, okay, yeah, that sounds like a reasonable thing.
I was trying to find a logical reason for this, but no.
A performance stunt? Bull fucking shit.
Yeah, that is bullshit. I smell bullshit.
Yeah.
I think something's
That's the lamest wrong. Excuse. She could have said, yeah, my eyelashes got stuck, something like that.
Yeah.
And that would have been believable. But doesn't she look like the Snow White?
Uh-huh.
Like
it's
the Snow
creepy.
White statue?
I mean, it's creepy. And you hear about this happening like with like religious statues that cry and stuff like that, but I think that's bullshit. I think it's always been connected to priests that just want more donations for the church, so they like set it up to do that. But I think abandoned amusement parks are not places that people like invest money into putting this kind of shit together.
You know what? You can't see it in this video. I wish I could find that other video because you could see the dress that she's wearing.
Yes, that one's creepy.
And the dress that she's wearing actually looks like the dress that Katy Perry was just wearing. So yeah, spooky shit, man. Spooky shit. So yeah, as you can tell, we've been head deep in
in all of this,
a lot of the strangeness,
a
lot of the strangeness.
Because I do think that there's the veil between the worlds has been either completely removed, or there's such a gaping hole that it's like Grand Central Station. We're not even it's like Ghostbusters at this point. We're dealing with things that are just strange and almost unexplainable, except the most skeptical people are going to be like, oh well, it's probably this or it's probably that. But if it's happening over and over and over and over and over again, it's kind of like the Cecil Hotel with suicides and murders. If it's happening over and over and over and over and over again, it can't just be that there's drugs and alcohol and homelessness involved, because there's drugs and alcohol and homelessness involved in every other hotel in that area, and not that many suicides and murders. So the
Cecil Hotel is a completely different story. I don't ever want to get into that now, but Richard Romero stayed there. There were several connections. I think Manson was
Crowley
there.
was
Crowley
there.
was there. Yeah, there's a lot of strangeness going on at the Cecil. Elisa Lam is a whole nother story. We've covered it before.
We'll cover it
again.
In
that much more depth.
Yeah.
I mean, even her name, Elisa Lam.
Everything.
And then, as Emily Moyer pointed out, they were testing out a. It was either
that area. Yeah.
It was either a vacation thing or it was a test. I think it was a test, a TB test. Called the Lamb.
Right.
LAM. Yeah.
Right.
It was a test that they were testing at that time. And did you know that happened during the time of Chris Dorner? What happened is Elisa Lam happened, then Chris Dorner happened, and Chris Dorner took over the news cycle. Like, I didn't even hear about Elisa Lam when that was going on. I heard about Chris Dorner going around. For those of you that don't know, Chris Dorner was this police officer that supposedly went on a shooting spree against the LAPD. And that happened right at the time that Elisa Lam was missing. And in the last time we covered Elisa Lam, we were showing how up on the roof where they found her, there was spray paint, and it was like Latin or something like that.
Latin.
And it said, "I'll see you next Tuesday, my
good little
slave," or something like that. And they found her on the Tuesday.
days later.
Yeah, they found her on a Tuesday. So, and the documentary we were watching at the time completely missed that. Like, didn't pay attention to
Didn't
any of the
say
graffiti in the
anything
background or
about
any of
that.
the symbolism in
Nope.
the background or anything like that.
Nothing to see here.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's
It
a
was
whole
complete
nother
cover up.
whole nother story.
Yeah, the
but-
documentary was a complete whitewash of what happened. It even went into the harms of scapegoating and, oh, we better not blame anybody for this because it might be wrong. I mean, I'm sorry, but that was a weird incident that happened, and they want us to not look into it. They literally are like saying if you even try to guess who might have done this, then you're a bad person and you're going to end up getting somebody killed on the internet that had nothing to do with it, because people were saying this guy did it because...
Well, the weird thing is that movie that came out too.
Oh, that Dark Water.
Dark Water came
that
out
was
before.
Mm-hmm.
And then wasn't it called the Lamb Hotel or something like that?
No,
or the Eliza
it was
Hotel?
the Eliza Hotel.
The Eliza Hotel. The movie Deepwater.
Dark
Water was just like that. She takes the kid to the hotel. The kid goes missing. Was found in the water tank. It was called the Eliza Hotel or something like that. Really weird.
Dahlia. Oh, her name is Dahlia, and the Black Dahlia was found at her. She was last seen in the basement of the Cecil Hotel having a drink.
Yeah.
That's the connection.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
no. I think the hotel was called the hotel was called the
it's right in
the
front
Dahlia.
of me. Yeah. No, the plot of Dark Water. Her name is Dahlia. And she's battling her ex-husband Kyle for the custody of the daughter Cecilia. And the Black Dahlia was found. The last place she was seen alive was the basement of the Cecil Hotel, and her daughter's name is Cecilia.
Okay, that's what it was. Her daughter's name was
her
Cecilia.
daughter's name is
Okay.
Cecilia.
In 2013, Eliza Lam was staying at Los Angeles Cecil Hotel when she suddenly vanished. Her body was found 2 weeks later in the water tank or the roof of the hotel, and her death was eventually ruled an accidental drowning. But that hasn't stopped internet sleuths from speculating about other possible explanations for Lam's perplexing death, many of which are explored in the Netflix series Crime Scene, The Vanishing of the Cecil Hotel.
Mm-hmm.
That's the documentary we were watching. So 2005, this happened 2013. 2005, a movie came out called Dark Water.
Uh-huh.
The film is an American remake of a 2002 Japanese horror movie, which is based on a short story called Floating Water. In it, a mother and daughter named Dahlia and Cecilia, there we go, okay, find dark water leaking from their bedroom ceiling and soon discover that the apartment of theirs has flooded the family who used to live there under mysterious circumstances. Dahlia eventually finds the body of a little girl who once lived in the apartment above theirs, and she's abandoned by her parents, etc., 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 etc. And it had low water pressure. In the movie, it had low water pressure, an odd taste and smell in the water,
that's so
and that's what people were
gross.
complaining
Oh my
about,
God,
and
that's
that's
so
how they
nasty.
found her in the water tank,
Yep.
because people were actually drinking her. Think about that.
Yep.
People were actually drinking Eliza Lam's remains.
Yeah.
If that doesn't scream ritual, I don't
That's
know what the
total
hell
ritual,
does.
100%. And I would even go so far as to say that these rituals are very important to whoever's doing them, in exchange for the power that they get, whether that's political or money, wealth, or even youth. That's what witches used to do it for all the time. They used to drink the blood of virgins to stay young, and also it's the evocation of these entities, is about an exchange. It's like any other bit. It's just business. It's an exchange of one thing for another thing. You don't get anything for nothing. And so you have to provide something to the entity in order to get something from the entity.
That's true. Real quick before we move on to that, I was wondering, did you? I saw a super chat earlier. I forgot who it came from, so I apologize.
Oh.
But they asked about the movie Final Destination.
Oh yeah. Yes, Final Destination. That's really interesting because it happened on. It was a plane ride, and what's interesting, my church actually did it was a weird play, and it was the year before, and they called it Final Destination, and it was about a plane that was crashing, and all the people on board were about to either go to heaven or hell, and it was about their lives and the way they had lived their life. I'm not kidding.
Really?
I'm dead serious. A year
That's
before.
why I am completely 100% sure that we live in a freaking matrix. Because
Yeah.
you got all these weird coincidences that I have to believe that the AI is manifesting things from our consciousness and bringing them out.
Let me.
You can't make this stuff up. Let's hold that thought. I got to take a quick break. We're at the top of the hour anyways. So I'm going to play a new track. This is more politically motivated though. So I didn't want to play this track now, but I just finished it and I really like it. So we will be right back, but I think you'll kind of understand. It's based more on the last show that we did and the kind of about what's going on right now. So we will be right back.
I have an invitation for you. Is there a celebration? I'm not inviting you to a celebration. I'm inviting you to a war.
What will they do when we all stand up? At every checkpoint, we just don't stop. Together as one, solid as a rock. A global resistance, load up and lock. Now we're mad as hell, and we're not gonna take it. A new world order, never let them create it. Make no mistake, the police state is here. Enslaving the masses with deception and fear. A single tear down my cheek as I line up the scope. With my finger on the trigger, cause there's no time for hope. The forest is rot, time to turn it to smoke. When we flood the whole world, will you be on the boats?
This is my heart. Take it. I believed in love. Now I believe in this. War.
Now we're all strapped up, cause it's time to refresh the liberty tree with the blood of these tyrants. They try to divide us, play us like pawns, black and white against each other. How the chess game's won. Time to step off the board, stop playing the game. Every day a different song, the exact same theme. They keep us distracted while they plot and they scheme to keep us asleep in this American dream. So never forget, we stand tall and unite. We're their number one threat, it's time to stand up and fight. We're gonna live free or die through the darkest of nights. Now tell me what you see by the dawn's early lights.
I have an invitation for you. If you have sheep, give them away. If you have a family, leave them.
We are coming up to some crazy times right now, and yeah, I'm waiting for Sheree to get back. But in the meantime, I've been looking this thing up recently, and just everything that's happening on the geopolitical sphere right now is troublesome. It's really troublesome because I'm seeing a repetition of what happened last year. I mean, not last year. And it still feels like it's 2020. What happened in 2019 happening all over again now. The news cycles are getting really weird. They were talking about something back in 2018 called Disease X. And as soon as Cherie sits down, we can get into that really briefly. But Disease X is basically something that the WHO put on their watch list. And they said that it's a placeholder for anything that can happen when it comes to any kind of pandemic that can occur. This was 2018, right? Then what happened is we saw cases of what they called oh, I forget what they called them, but it was supposedly the vaping illness that people were getting, and they were calling it popcorn. Yeah, lung injuries, popcorn lung, things like that. Popcorn lung doesn't actually make your Ivali. Okay, it doesn't actually make your lungs look like popcorn. What it does is it's named popcorn lung because it comes from the chemical that they use to make popcorn butter with, and breathing too much of that in. So they first they tried to say that it was that, and several states, including Washington, banned vapes for a while because they were trying to pass this off as the vapes. Now, just recently, they had another illness. Do you remember what it was called? CHF. CHF. Okay, this is a disease supposedly from smoking too much cannabis. Yeah, and then they have supposedly the latest strain of the zombie virus, and that had an esoteric name to it. It had the war goddess. What was it called? It starts with an E. Do you remember? Eris. Okay. The new strain is called Eris, right? And so we're just looking at all this and we're like, hey, this is a repetition of what happened in 2018, 2019, leading into 2020. As soon as they declared the zombie virus to be not a global threat anymore, and I do that in air quotes with bunny ears, as soon as they declare that, the guy comes out and says, oh, but there will be another one. And there'll be another one coming very, very, very soon. And so I'm seeing this disease X over and over and over again in the news feeds, and it seems like a precursor for what's to come. What do you think? Hold on a second. I got you muted. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
Please go ahead.
I think that this is everything's been planned. If it's in the news, it's been planned. It's scripted. It's been planned. And if it's not in the news, but there's a lot of talk about it in alternative sources, and you've got videos of it and everything, and it's being admitted quietly in government documents and things like that, that means it's real, and they don't want you to know about it. Following that logic, I think it's safe to say that something very, very big is happening regarding, number one, psychosis, and also number two, people's immune systems breaking down and starting to become ineffective at even fighting off the common cold. And so that's why, I'm just so grateful that we have iLife, because that it's such a protective mechanism that's so safe that it's a miracle.
Well, we can't say too much on YouTube because of the community standards. Funny story for those of you that haven't heard. I actually did a video, and all I did was read the terms and conditions. I read them word for word, and that's it. And YouTube removed it and said that it was misinformation.
Yep.
And I was like, I'm just reading your terms and conditions. That's all I'm doing here. If you read their terms and conditions, you'll see that it says you cannot make any claim whatsoever that any vacation or anything else is a guaranteed preventative method. So all I did was read it, and that's it. And they obviously didn't like that. However, at ialife.com, ayalife.com, we put out a video with Dr. Campbell.
Mm-hmm.
And
John Campbell, yeah.
John Campbell was talking about a study that they did, and this is National Institute of Health, and he was going over this peer-reviewed study and talking about how high purity CBD can actually be a prophylactic for the thing that happened. Again, I have to pick my words very carefully here. But we were thrilled because, number one, we went through the whole thing without getting sick at all. And we got a little bit sick, but it wasn't, it was like, in a matter of a few hours.
Yeah. Oh, it's like.
And we realized that the high purity CBD, not the stuff that you just get out there, not just the general CBD, that actually works against it.
Yeah, it's garbage.
According to this paper, the other cannabinoids, including THC, actually work to diminish the effects of the CBD. And he was talking about the zombie virus. He was talking about Ebola. He was talking about Zika virus. He was talking about several other things. And I think we have that video at ialife.com. I think it's at the very bottom. No, I haven't put that up yet. We sent it out in an email because it's stuff we can't talk about here on YouTube. And
Right,
it sucks.
exactly.
But knowing that there's something coming up at the pike, I would say that there's a high chance that it's going to be, I'm trying to pick my words, a spliced version of what there was before.
Right.
And so there was a college, a university, I want to say in Massachusetts. Again, this is from several months ago, so I'm just going off the top of my head. But they were actually boasting about how they made one that is 80% effective. Not a treatment.
Right.
But they're talking about
the opposite of that.
The opposite of the treatment.
Right.
That's 80% effective and 80%. It has an 80% kill rate.
And because, yeah, you're right.
And they're
It's a
saying
beta
that,
test
yeah, they're
the
saying
first
that
time.
basically they're doing that to create something that can combat it. So they want something that's really, really highly contagious. Okay. So they just busted some labs, illegal laboratories in China. I mean, in California.
In California.
And they were run by China. Illegal labs run by China. Right here in California, right? And when we were talking about the Maui situation, we were talking about how there's most likely labs out there as well. And that's just a whole nother rabbit hole. I don't want to go down this show.
Oh, there's multiple ones though. Yeah.
But it's just, I mean, there's a lab in Galveston, Texas that's funded and co-opted. This one is a co-op between the United States and China. This one in California was an illegal one. So they basically have like made to order facilities where they can just ring somebody up and say, hey, this is what we want. And boom, they can let it go anywhere.
Yeah.
So it's Labor Day weekend. And we decided, Labor Day, let's go ahead and redo the buy one, get one free for iLife because it's helped so many people throughout this whole situation. And now we have documented proof from the National Institute of Health.
There's a way we can help.
And the thing is, when they're saying something like this, you can take it to the bank.
Right.
Because they will lie and lie and lie and lie and lie. And when they're forced to put out data like this, that says, hey, this actually helps, that's them with their hand forced to say, we can't hide this anymore.
Yep, they have
like they did with the other one, the IV, and then the mech, and the ton, and the hydro.
The ridiculous.
Right. But you all know what I'm talking about.
You get our drift. Yeah.
So I thought that was brilliant that Dr. Campbell, the video Dr. Campbell put out there. And I'm surprised it's on YouTube.
Beautiful.
Like that's the weird thing is we can say something here and our video will get taken down, banned, shadow banned, all that, just like that. Other people can put stuff out and it's just fine.
Well, but you know what's interesting though is the week after that, he had an MP from England on the show. Boom, gets taken down immediately and all that. I just think he barely scraped by with that one. But then when he had that MP on, they banned him for 10 days and gave him a strike.
Yeah. Oh, really?
And, the week after that.
Oh.
So I think it's happening all across the board because they are so threatened by anything that's going to threaten their profits in the coming future for these companies that make money off the vacations on top. And then just the fact that fear of being affected by it is what's going to drive people to the vacation.
I was looking at OAN.
And when you have this, you don't have that fear.
One American News, they've got like 3 million subscribers and their videos have 1,000, 2,000 views and things.
That's why we're suppressed,
Yeah. We've been stuck at 58,000 for like 5 years now.
Yeah, there's no way in hell that happens.
Another channel.
We need to start another channel.
The weird thing was they cut us off in the middle of a live stream, which is something that they usually don't do.
I've never even heard of that happening.
Got an actual person watching it. So that was flattering. Anyways, you go to the one bottle, put in 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Y'all all know the drill. Most of you. Add it to your cart and at checkout, go to checkout and put BTV Tribe and you will get 50% off or buy one, get one free, I should say. But it works in multiples of 2. So you do that, and boom,
Gotta
you
fit
get
2 in the
2 for
card.
1. And that helped a lot of people throughout 2020.
Yeah, and it's
in
gonna help so many
2020,
more people.
we people were writing us and just
Mm-hmm.
giving us these amazing testimonials. And
Oh, it really was.
what stuck out the most to me is that people were saying this worked where others didn't. And I was thinking, well, we make it with love.
Yeah.
We make it, with the same kind of spirit that we would make ayahuasca with. It's got infused with the ayahuasca vine itself. And it's high purity CBD. And I knew this to be the case because I've got friends who are hemp farmers, and they offered me the crude CBD oil. And I asked him, well, how do I know that each bottle is going to be consistent? He's like, well,
You don't.
you really don't, but they're pretty consistent. Our plants are pretty consistent. And then I realized that the hemp plant has like 3 to 12% CBD. And when they make the crude oil, you're actually getting, like, if you're lucky, 12%. So if you got 1,000 milligram bottle, you're lucky if it's got 120 milligrams of CBD in it. And that's on the high end. That's saying that the plants are like really potent. But on the low end, it's 3%. And when I realized that, I was like, oh, we're doing it different. And we've always done it different. And the biggest thing was the taste. Like, the taste of CBD we were trying before was just, it was
anything from grass to gasoline to
it tasted like ethanol, it tasted like
ethanol,
grass, all that stuff.
That's
so that was our main thing. It's like, let's make something that we can actually take on a daily basis. Then this study comes out. And the study is like, the high purity CBD is the only one that's effective. And we're like, awesome.
Well, somehow
we're already there.
We already had the answer right there in front of us. And it's why we've never had anybody write us and say otherwise.
We've had one complaint.
We've had one complaint, and it was that it was too strong.
And then we had another one, and this one was really cool. I don't remember who it was, but she wrote and she says, I tried this for a couple of days. I'm just not really feeling it. And something was going on at the time, and we didn't get a chance to
our
write her
email
back.
server. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we found the email like 6 days later, and we're like, oh, okay. Yeah, no, we'll definitely, we get so little complaints, we'll just do a refund. No problem. And then we find another email, and she's like, no, I kept trying it, and this is actually really awesome. And it was really cool because, it's typically like mind over matter. But in this case, it was life over mind over matter, because she went in there thinking that it wasn't going to work, but she kept trying it anyways. And it's something you've got to take for like, a week before you start feeling. It's not just a one-off thing, and it builds up. And the way that Dr. Campbell described it is that it's a prophylactic. It's the only prophylactic you can take, because all the other stuff that works for it, like the H1 and the IV one, the Ivor one, which I'm talking about, you can't take those every day because they're just too toxic. And he's got a quote, and I love this quote. He said, if everybody over at the lab, I'm just going to say that, or in that city, was taking high purity CBD, we could have prevented this whole thing from happening to begin with.
Right.
That was really powerful. So yeah, coupon code once again is BTV Tribe, all lowercase. And the website is ayalife.com. And we're only doing it through like Tuesday or Wednesday. So you better get it now.
Right. And somebody actually asked in the chat room about a dosage for their cat. We really need to put a dosage chart for cats and dogs and for pets on the site, because it is very, very simple. If they're about 10 pounds, which usually cats are about 10 pounds, a low dose would be 1 milligram. But it sounds like if it's an aging cat and she really needs a lot of help, I would start with a medium dose of 3 milligrams, and that's basically like a quarter of a dropper.
The droppers are actually metered.
Yeah, the droppers are metered.
Please do not put the droppers in the pet's
Do not
mouths.
put them directly in the pet's mouth.
Yeah, we have a little thing on the bottle that says that, but
Do not do that.
Nobody's ever done it. We've never had any problems.
Thank goodness.
Knock on wood.
Knock on wood.
Please don't put the
Never
droppers in
do
the pet's
that.
mouth.
But
because they're glass droppers.
But if you want a strong dose, you're going to want to give her a third of a dropper full. A quarter of a dropper full for a medium dose, and a third of a dropper full for a strong dose.
Yes,
and
you
that'll
can put
help
it in their water.
a lot. Yeah, you put it in their water, and then what they'll do is they'll drink it until they don't want any more, and they'll dose themselves as much as they want to take. And if they really like it, you can give them it. There's really no
I've got a baby sitting here behind me.
Yeah, we give it to
I
our
don't know if
babies
y'all
every
can see it
day,
'cause she's
and
black, but
we haven't had to take them to the vet in years. And we give it to them every day, and I really think that CBD is part of. It's always been part of our humans and animals. It's been part of our diet, and what the problem is in the last 100 years, as our diet has become processed instead of natural. And with that, our hemp, we've taken the hemp plant and we've and the cannabis plant, and we've separated it into
somebody said water like out of the toilet.
Water like out the toilet. We've separated it.
Dude, I was so going to, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I was so going to, and I probably will, I'm going to splice the Idiocracy courtroom scene with the Trump scene. With back and forth. Like, and this motherfucker did this. I'm sorry. I need to be quiet while you're talking.
It's okay. I was going to say something important, though.
Please do.
What we've done in the past 100 years is we've separated the THC and CBD, and it used to be that all cannabis had about a 50-50 ratio of each. It was about 50% THC, 50% CBD. Everything was a hybrid. And then what happened was we looked for the highest amounts of THC we could find in all these plants. And some of them had more than others, but it was basically 50-50. And we took the plant and we took all the CBD out of it basically and made it just THC, and everybody went for the THC only. Oh, I don't want that much CBD. I don't really care, because the CBD balances out the THC, and the THC is not supposed to be taken that big in against the CBD. The CBD keeps the THC in check. And I do think that there's something to this. I think if Terrence McKenna had been alive long enough to read all of the information I've been reading lately, he would agree with me that what's happened is THC in large amounts, when you're not using it with CBD in conjunction with it, it does cause psychosis. It does cause heart rate issues. It does cause heart problems. And then you do get this hyperemesis bullcrap happening. I think that's the problem is that there's not enough CBD being added into it to balance it out.
Can I interject for a second?
So CBD's the answer.
CBD is the prophylactic effect.
Mm-hmm.
The THC, though, I think this whole thing that they were talking about, this whole new, what do they call it? Cannabis something. Somebody said it in the chat earlier. I think that's just another BS cover, like they did with the whole vape thing.
No, now I think
somebody
it's
else,
turning into that.
I think people are getting infected with something else.
It's turning into that,
and they're kind of like not ready to let it out yet, and so they're trying to say, "Oh no, this is due to this is due to that." Just like they were saying that the whole zombie virus thing was, "Oh, this is due to the vapes. Oh, it's due to this. It's due to that." They're getting respiratory things because of the vapes. It's kind of scary what they're talking about, because they said they're going to be focusing on Zika virus.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be focusing on the zombie virus. They're going to be focusing on HIV.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about how all this kills the immune system. And so this life boosts the immune system.
Here it is. Mystery respiratory virus spreading in Hyderabad. No symptoms and prevention tips. There's a mystery virus.
Yeah, I don't want to get too much into it on YouTube.
Yeah, me either. But it's basically, when the immune system is only looking for one thing, it's going to let everything else in. And so it's kind of a virgin soil type of situation all across the board for however % of the population did that. And I'm just saying, this is the only answer that I've been able to find that is safe and that you can use every day, and that is effective enough to.
Yeah, and you know what they're doing now is they're finding all the stuff for them.
Mm-hmm.
So, what I'm concerned about, my biggest concern as being in the CBD business, is that they're going to turn around, and the Biden's talking about rescheduling cannabis.
And then
and
retroactive.
So I remember all these people saying, "Oh, they need to do it Schedule 2, Schedule 2." That means that it's going to be prescription only.
Oh,
No. We don't want this as Schedule 2. We don't. We want it descheduled or nothing at all.
Yeah.
Because then that takes it away from the states. But when they tried that, when Sessions got in at the very beginning, he tried going after all the cannabis. And Nevada and Colorado and Washington were like, no, 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 no. And they sued him. And then Sessions realized, oh, wait a second. We don't have enough people to go after and shut down all these dispensaries. Yeah, no, they're looking at this. And they're looking at this and saying, hey, this is something we can utilize and sell. And we need to take it out of the people's hands and control it.
Right.
It's just like they did with Kratom, and they tried to do the emergency scheduling on the alkaloid of Kratom.
Right.
And everybody freaked out and was like, no, 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 no. You got housewives, you got celebrities, you got all kinds of people saying, no, no, no. We're not
it was
gonna
only
do
because there were congressmen that were naturopaths themselves that said, oh, no, wait a second. This is going to make things like, I mean, what's next? Garlic? Because people take garlic for their heart. Are you going to, what's next? Are you going to take vitamins and schedule them too? Are you trying to kill people here? And it's a slippery slope when you start putting more and more plants as scheduled.
Oh, you're kidding me.
Oh, are they trying it again? Please don't tell me they're trying it again.
Yes, they are trying it again. Somebody in the chat mentioned it.
You've got to be
did.
kidding me.
Here you have an article very top 6 hours ago. Best Kratom for ADHD. Is it a natural alternative to Adderall? Federal lawmakers are preparing to reintroduce legislation to regulate Kratom amid pushback to FDA proposed ban. CBD Kratom for sale. Kratom users swear by it, but critics want to ban it. Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, it's back in the news cycle.
Okay,
of course it is. Of course it is. So what they're doing is they're preparing.
Yeah, they're preparing
They're preparing for their next pandemic. And they're trying to take everything that actually works and keep it for themselves. And they're also developing something that actually works, like that goes in the arm, and keeping it for themselves.
Right. Exactly.
A story that I heard way back is from a mother that went to go get her child, the thing that goes in the arm. And they wound up billing her. They billed her like $15,000 or something like that for this one thing that goes in the arm. And she's like, hey, this is supposed to be covered by my insurance. And they said, no, there's actually 2 different kinds. And your child got the other kind that's not covered by your insurance. It's going to be $15,000.
Yep.
So at that point, I realized they do have some that work. And they have some that are meant to do the opposite of working.
Yep.
And they've been giving them out. They've been giving people the stuff that doesn't work.
Right.
And it's meant to do the opposite and keeping the others for themselves. So that's what they're developing right now.
It's eugenics.
When you see these execs all over the place and they're like, oh, we're working on this, we're working on that. They're not working on it for the people.
No.
They're working on it for
they're
themselves.
Working on it for themselves. Yeah.
That's why they want to take CBD out of people's hands. They want to take Kratom out of people's hands.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what's so weird about all this?
The Ivor one, they were calling it horse paste. And when you look at the horse paste versus the prescribed ones, it's the exact same thing. You can get amoxicillin that's for fish. That's the exact same. It's the exact same tablets. Exact same tablets, exact same strength, exact same everything like that. The ones that are for horses versus, I'm saying way too much on YouTube. I'm going to have to cut this later. But the ones that's for horses is the exact same dosage as the one for humans.
Right.
You can use... I'm just going to leave it at that.
Okay. So, turning to it, back to the Kratom topic for just a second. Okay. My experience with Kratom was wonderful. For 7 years, it was like off and on. I would have days where it was really difficult for me to do a show because I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and I have pain issues sometimes. And so I was taking Kratom. And it helped tremendously. And I took it successfully for 7 years, never had an issue with it. The problem with Kratom is that you do get a tolerance effect where you have to take more and more to get the same effect. And it's not the same as other things where like you get a dependency that's more than like it's not even a physical dependency. It's more just like it doesn't work unless you take more. But it's not that you get a horrible withdrawal syndrome from it, and that's because it's like nature's buprenorphine. It's a really amazing plant. It's actually a cousin of the coffee plant, and so it's actually incredibly safe if it's taken in powder form. What's happened though is, like every good thing,
just like they took the poppy plant and turned it in and bastardized it and turned it into, what we see with like OxyContin and things like that. They took Kratom and turned it into extracts, and they sell Kratom extracts. Kratom extracts are a very, very good way to cause that effect I was just talking about, that you want to avoid, like the dependency where you get the withdrawal thing and all that. It does cause that. It makes your tolerance go way, way, way up to where powder doesn't even work anymore. And it can have really, really, really severe side effects with your heart and things like that. I would avoid extracts at all costs and only use the powder form. And if you start getting to where you're having to take like 6 grams, 7 grams at a time, just don't take it for a couple weeks and it'll work again as usual. And it's very safe. It's very safe from what I've experienced. And that's just my experience. And I'm not a doctor, so don't take my medical advice as medical advice, but it's not, because it's not medical advice. But I'm just sharing my experience.
I'm not a doctor, but I know more than
I know more than
do.
most doctors.
It was funny. I was at the doctor getting a regular checkup a couple of years ago, and I said, "Hey, I got this going on." And I walked back and I started talking to the doctor, and the doctor's on Google looking it up on Google. Looking up the symptoms. And it's funny because they'll tell you, where'd you learn it? Where'd you hear that? Google? And I saw them looking on Google themselves. I want to get off this topic, though. That's okay.
Okay. Did one more thing about Kratom. It is not hard on the liver unless you're using other drugs or alcohol, especially if you drink. I don't drink alcohol. I just don't like alcohol. And my liver never had a single problem in the 7 years I took it. But I've heard of people having really bad liver issues if they drink while they take Kratom. So avoid alcohol with Kratom and you'll be fine. So
yes.
Okay, let's move on to the next topic because I want to get back to the demonology aspect of things. Because let's do that. We were talking about.
Okay, but can you hold so I can do a little rejoiner so I can cut it later?
Yes, please.
Okay, real quick. Somebody asked in the chat, how long is CBD good for? It depends on how it's stored. We have every batch we make, we always keep a couple bottles from it, and we label them on which batch they're from. We have batches from 2018 that have been sitting in the bottles, and there's nothing that looks wrong with them. Now, we will take them to the lab and have them tested because that's a good point. It's been that long.
Yeah,
I wanted to wait and see, how long it'll last. But we have it in the bottles the way we do. And if you've kept it out of the light and you've kept these bottles are supposed to be UV resistant as well. That's why we pick these particular bottles.
Yeah,
most of them do.
Right,
they're usually brown. We like the green ones better, but they're all made of the same material. And they're meant for that, to keep the light out of them. Theoretically, it should be good. And the only thing that I can think of happening is that it may diminish the effect of it.
It's just because it's a little less effective after 1 to 2 years.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't realize with medicines, like over-the-counter stuff and even prescription stuff, they will put expiration dates on there just to make you buy more. And this came from the military itself. And the military was like, hey, we're tired of buying all this stuff. And they actually did their own experimentation, and they found that the expiration dates that the manufacturers put on there are a bunch of BS. And they've got stuff that expired years ago that they were using, and they found lost no potency or anything like that whatsoever. So apply that to everything else, in my humble opinion, but that's just me. But again, it's up to your own, up to you. We say, the standard about 1 to 2 years.
Yeah,
that's what we say. That's officially.
Yeah, but I still use those bottles whenever I run out. I just grab one of those bottles from downstairs because we have a lot of them that I keep a supply for ourselves too, and I've been testing the ones from time to time that we have from 2018.
Yeah, so
they're still good.
ayalife.com, AYAlife.com. Put 2468810 single bottles in your cart and go to checkout and put in BTV Tribe all lowercase. And
it's a great deal, and I wish we could do it all the time. But
yes,
yeah.
You will get buy one get one free at checkout. So let's get back to the demonology stuff.
My dear traveler, the purpose of your consciousness is never to destroy. It is always to create. Build bridges. Create happiness. And bring forth new life. We must live in the hope that mankind will draw together. And that we better understand each other. The more that we awaken, the easier this will become. Now rise. Follow your conductors. And fear no danger. As you step beyond the veil.
All right, jumping back into it. Let's get back on topic here. Just some spooky, dark stuff. Mrs. Gio just sent me an article that said this 11,000-year-old statue unearthed in Siberia may reveal ancient views of taboos and demons. So, first of all, before we jump into that, I want to get your take real quick on what demons are. And if you want, I can give my take, and then you can give yours, or vice versa, or whatever you want to do.
Take it away.
Okay, so just from my ayahuasca experiences and just my own consciousness exploration and everything like that, what I feel is happening is that demons are actually parts of our own consciousness. And being parts of our own consciousness, we have complete and total dominion over them. And they're the parts of our consciousness that we really don't want to face, because as we go through the reincarnation wheel, we have come to experience everything. So we have been the worst of the worst, and we've been the best of the best too. And we've done horrible things, and we've done all that. And so it could be either stuff that's haunting you from this lifetime or stuff that's haunting you from previous lifetimes. Now, that was something that I came to around 2015, 2018, around that area. Then I started to change a little bit, and I started to realize that in hindsight, as I was looking back through a lot of DMT experiences, ayahuasca experiences, things like that, I started to view the world more through the eyes of a computer program, or a computer program that's being played out, and demons and angels and helpers and things like that being more of code within the matrix itself. Mm-hmm. So then the possibility of external entities started to be a thing for me. And being able to utilize these different energies in different ways, it's just like having a computer, being in front of your computer and being able to open different programs. And you have different cheat programs that you can use. Mm-hmm. Some cheat programs, like you get something from some hacker on the dark web and use it to do something, it might infect your computer. And it might have the intended effect of doing what it's supposed to do. But it might ultimately affect your computer as well in a negative way, because it's kind of a double-edged sword like that, because it's a malicious program that's disguised as a benevolent program.
Right.
And vice versa. And then I started to explore the idea of angels, seraphim, things like that, and realized that they're both really the opposite side of the same coin. So when you look at the Bible, for example, the most horrible things were done by angels, not by demons. As E.A. Koetting and other black magicians that we've had on the show, they say they invoke angels when they want to do some serious damage. Demons are not really that important in the grand scheme of things. Demons are more for personal possessions and gain and sometimes wisdom and things like that. And angels are really to fuck somebody up if you want to fuck them up. And so really they're both, equally as malevolent and equally as benevolent. But if you look at it through a computer program, then it's like, okay, I'm accessing these computer programs. Mm-hmm. The reason that I say all this is because we jump in headfirst into the darkness. It doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. Because at the end of the day, and this is something I want everybody to remember out there, you are the master of your own reality. And there are no entities that are higher than you. And so we talk about, or we hear people talk about these higher dimensional beings and, oh, they're my guides and they're my helpers and they're this and that, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. Really, they're lower dimensional beings that have convinced people that they're higher dimensional beings. Right. And I can get into so many different stories, but I don't want this to spiral out into too many different places. But let me just say this. you're the master of your own domain, and you're the master of your own
Absolutely.
reality. And as such, anything you invite into your sphere, you have control over.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we can throw down the Ouija board and laugh whenever we hear a huge hissing in the background, like we were
Salt
talking
or no
about
salt.
in the first
Sage or no sage. Yeah.
sage or no sage, salt or no salt.
Yeah.
And these different elements, in my opinion, are physical representations of your own energy. So the magician's magic wand really is nothing more than just a symbol, something physical that you can pick up and visualize the energy coming through. I have an eagle feather that I use for cleansing. The eagle feather doesn't have any power itself. It's just a physical representation. The sage doesn't have any power itself. It's a physical representation of the energies that you're putting out there. Now, should you use these stuff? Yeah, absolutely. Use some salt, use whatever you're comfortable with. But at the end of the day, I think the true power is in knowing that you are the ultimate power in your own domain, and anything else that comes into your sphere is subject to your will. Not necessarily in the sense that it has to do what you say, but if you tell it, get the fuck out, it has to get the fuck out. You don't need, special rituals. You don't need salt. You don't need all this. You just tell it, get out, and it will get out. That's why when we heard that big loud hiss, we were laughing and high-fiving each other.
Yeah, we were like, nice.
I was like, yes,
Score.
I finally heard some paranormal stuff. I'm still trying to get it to move an object. That's what I'm still waiting for. I sit there and we'll be on the Ouija board and I'll be like, all right, move this little cap. It's a small little cap. That's it. Just move it. Just move it. Just move it. I just want to see it once. I just want to see it. I'm not even recording it.
One manifestation.
I just want to see it for myself.
Yeah.
That being said, take us away, Mrs. Gio.
Well, apparently, I just sent you an interesting link. People are saying that there was a demon that was spotted at the Travis Scott concert when the Travis Scott concert happened. I think you're right. I think demons, angels.
Can I elaborate on that real quick?
Yeah.
Imagine this. You have a group of people that don't understand these concepts, that don't understand that they're the ultimate authority over their own domain. So what is the magician in that case doing? Pulling from all of those different consciousnesses, getting all those different consciousness to give up their will so they can pull something out, conjure something up, manifest something, and control it.
Exactly.
While they're actually controlling all those other people and they're controlling all those other consciousnesses.
Yes, exactly. It's not demons that are ultimately controlling these humans. It's humans controlling humans through demons, which are actually just programs that we can choose to open or not open inside of our consciousness. And if we choose to open them, sometimes we don't choose it consciously. Subconsciously, we choose to open this program that evokes this entity, or we consciously evoke this entity using those grimoires of the Middle Ages and things like that. But I do think you're right that they are just parts of ourselves, and they're parts of the matrix that make up who we are inside of this body. It's more the body. It's not the ultimate soul that's even involved here. This all has to do with the same consciousness and body that we're in right now as Cherie Gio and Chris Gio, not who we ultimately are on a soul level. Does that make sense to you?
I love the way you put that. Because you think of a operator at a computer, and you have all these people operating a computer, and they're taking over the computer. They're not taking over the operator. They're taking over the computer. And so your computer gets taken over, which is your body. And so you're banging on the keyboard going, come on, do this, do that, et cetera, et cetera. But something else has control of that computer.
But
it doesn't have control of the operator.
It doesn't have control of the operator. The operator's still fine. It's the damn computer that's not working. And
this is why I emphasize this, because when you get into these darker topics, and obviously, it does invite some darker energies, but I just want people to understand that you are the ultimate power. There's nothing to fear. Don't be foolish, but at the same time, you have nothing to fear as long as you understand who you are.
Yeah,
So,
I understand you're the authority. There is no authority that's higher than you. I do think that the people that have the most power in this world
have the understanding of how to utilize these programs to the extent that they do some really, really horrible things, not just because it's not about getting off. It's about feeding these entities, feeding these programs in the energy that they need in order to operate and do whatever it is that they do. The 72 demons of the Goetia each have their own function. They each have their own compartmentalized things that they do for people. You've got one that finds hidden objects. You've got one that knows all about the precious metals and gems. You've got another one that knows about the stars. You've got another one that knows about metalworking. And you've got one that knows where to find gold. It all has to do with the parts of our consciousness that are actually kind of selfish and me. I want wealth. I want power. I want women. I want money. I want, I want it all.
And that's
the cars,
alchemical trap.
Mm-hmm.
Alchemy
turning
is
lead
turning
into
lead
gold.
into gold.
Yep.
So if you're foolish enough to think you can turn lead into gold, you're going to be spending the rest of your life sitting in your basement chanting over some lead, trying to turn it into gold.
Trying to incant
But
your
in
way,
actual fact, it's about turning your lead
way
consciousness into gold
Yeah.
consciousness, and it's so much deeper. And so the material stuff is
that's the trap.
That's the trap. Yeah, it's the pitfalls.
Mhm.
Because I've noticed this through a lot of different writings, whether it's grimoires or the Emerald Tablets of Thoth or the Bible or anything like that. There's some wisdom in everything, but you've got pitfalls. And if your consciousness isn't right, in terms of if you're selfish, if you're me, material, all this, you're going to fall into all those pitfalls and get distracted. And then you're going to be stuck in this little, like it's a golf course with like sand holes. You're going to be stuck in a sand hole trying to get out of the sand hole because you're not focused on the course itself.
Right.
Somebody, Taiwan for Trump. I love that name.
Nice.
Thank you. Yeah. He said, I dare you to look in the mirror and say, devil, I invite you in. That would be foolish.
That'd be, like we said, don't be foolish.
That would be foolish. There's nothing
never
to fear
give up
as far as doing that.
You
but
don't
why,
ever give up your power.
Why
would you
give up
even
your
say
power
that?
like that?
Yeah. You don't. It's just like I know this sounds counterintuitive, but it says in the Bible, "Thou shalt not take the Lord's name in vain." I think if you took that and you actually applied it to what we're trying to tell you guys, don't deny your own power ever. Do not ever deny your own power, even in a joking way, because that they eat that shit for lunch. They love when you scream and run away from them and you're scared of them and you think they're going to get you and all that. They love that. They eat that. That's what's feeding them. It's just like Freddy Krueger. The only thing that defeats him is her saying, "You don't exist. You're not real."
Yeah.
I control this reality, not you.
I think Crystal and I are cut from the same cloth because read what she just wrote.
I just want the perfect body, unlimited wealth, unlimited perfect body of the opposite sex at my disposal, and a few planets on my dog's leash. Is that too much to ask?
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
I think after all the work we've done, we deserve that.
I think at the end of the day, though, we're being tested, and the tests are getting harder and harder and harder as the reality gets denser and denser and denser. And like Mercury in retrograde started a few days ago, and I knew it was going to happen, but it was almost like the Cassandra effect, where I saw my external hard drive falling off the bed, and I was like, "Oh no!" It's Mercury in retrograde means that everything mechanical is more likely to fail or go wrong right now, and that hard drive already has some issues, and so I'm on the bed, and Sekhmet jumps on the bed, and she knocks it off, and it hasn't worked since. And I was going to use a lot of that material on the show tonight because I had a lot of things about demonology there.
Fix it. I will fix it. All you need to do is just bring it to your twin, and I will fix it for you.
I know. And
she was crying yesterday. She's like, "My hard drive's not working." I'm like, "Sweetie, it's okay. Look, watch. And I told her, look up the manual, the repair manual. Tell me what's inside. I bet you it's a regular standard hard drive.
That's what
She
what
opened
it
it
is.
up. She's like, oh yeah, it's a regular standard hard drive. I'm like, okay, we'll just get a new case.
Yeah,
It's a
he's
case.
already got a
That's
case for me, and he's already got a case for me.
Thank you, China.
After the show, we're gonna put that together, and then I think we should do a follow-up show about the ancient stuff about demonology. I think tonight we're mostly going into like the modern stuff, but this goes back really, really far, and it has a really interesting story behind it because Solomon, and I'll just share briefly, when Solomon met the Queen of Sheba, the story behind that was that she was actually possessed by a demon, and she was really into demonology and evocation and things like that, and she taught him about demonology. And when he asked God for wisdom, it wasn't just wisdom that he was given. Apparently he was given the keys to not just evoking these demons, but controlling them 100% and making them do his bidding 100%. And that's how he was able to put them into, he was kind of a jerk, actually. He made them build the Temple of Solomon, and then put them in a brass vessel, all 72 of them in a brass vessel, and sealed them up. And apparently he thought, okay, well, I'm going to take advantage of what they know and about metalworking and all that, and stonemasonry and all that, and then I'm going to lock them up so that they can't do any more damage, because they do a lot of damage to people by doing what they're doing right now, which is make people go insane and all that. And so he put them in this brass vessel. But somewhere in time between 500 BC or whenever that happened with Solomon, and the 1100s, they were released. And we don't know who released them, but somebody released them.
Do you know, real quick side note?
Yes.
That it's either a Mandela effect, and you guys and gals tell me out there in the comments in the chat. It's either a Mandela effect or it's a mistranslation, and we're just understanding more. But Jesus wasn't a carpenter.
I was going to bring that up too.
He was a mason.
He was a stonemason. He was a tecton.
Mason.
He was a tecton. And tecton is a mistranslation to carpenter. It was not a carpenter. It was a stonemason. He did not work with a nail and a hammer and nails. He worked with a square and compass.
Yeah.
And I think that's the answer. The answer is not to try to control these demons. The answer is to control yourself. And to control yourself to such an extent that they can't scare you. Thus they can't harm you. They can't do anything to you. Because you have complete and total control over your consciousness, over your body, over your mind, and you're not going to let them in to where they can make you do something against your family, or go nuts on your boss, or take down a plane, or scare a woman on a plane into getting off the plane. I think a lot of people are walking around with these programs open randomly because the vacation's opening them. The vacation's opening the programs.
Yes, they're hijacking the body computer and creating backdoors. I'm so glad that we live in this era, because we have the language now that they didn't have back then to describe reality, to describe entities, to describe all of this. It's great. And I think in 50 years from now, we're going to have even better language. I mean, the birth of artificial intelligence is huge, because we can communicate to each other artificial intelligence, and we understand what that means.
Right.
So when you understand what that means on an ethereal level, artificial intelligence, all of this is artificial intelligence, because we're inside of a simulation, computer simulation. Now it starts to make sense. Whereas before they had to call them gods, goddesses, demons, angels, all these different things. I was watching an interesting video. We need to do another show about this, but it was biblical representations of what angels actually look like.
Oh, they
a
look
lot
like
of people
monsters.
will see angels as really pretty people with wings, but
cherubims as little cherubs.
Yeah, according to the
little babies.
Bible, they actually look like machines, and they have all these different eyes. They look like amalgamations of different
Machinery
animals.
and
And so this video laid it out so great. But it looked very much like stuff that you would see in the DMT realm.
Yeah.
It's the best way I can describe it.
Same here.
You know, the book, DMT, the Spirit Molecule, how in the cover he's got all the eyes in the background. A lot of these are covered in eyes like that. Eyes all over, a wheel within a wheel covered in eyes. And when you actually draw it out, like this guy did, it's completely different. And I'm like, oh, it's a computer program. It's clear. It's a computer program.
Yeah, they look like eyes with wheels. What's funny is the elves don't have faces. They don't have eyes. They don't have mouths, but they are very animated, and their energy is very loving and sweet and everything. The DMT elves, but the other entities they do remind me of these drawings. And then the 72 demons of the Goetia, that was like almost exactly what we were seeing when we were in the Great Pyramid.
I was going to get to that, but this is a biblically accurate angel right here. And there's many different ones, but this is more of what an angel would look like.
Can you take it away for a second?
Oh yeah. So, there we go. Yeah, these are all the different, this is what I was talking about, the wheel with the eyes and all of this. I mean, this is pretty interesting stuff because being a psychonaut, I mean, I've seen a lot of things that are similar to this. I just never chalked them up to being angels or demons or anything like that. I was just like, oh, cool. You know, DMT entities and energies and programs. I identified them as programs. So the whole hierarchy is completely different when you look at it from that perspective. So what Cherie was alluding to is when we went to the Great Pyramid and did the ayahuasca ritual there, and forgive me for being redundant for those who have heard this a million times over, we came back and we said that when we created the firewall around the sarcophagus with Sekhmet's energy, Sekhmet being the lioness, and her name is derived from the breath of the wind of Egypt and the really harsh wind. We naturally chalked it up to a firewall being created around the little space that we were making when we, created a little portal in the Great Pyramid. So we started describing these entities that were standing outside, and they look like grays. That was the best way that I can describe them, except they looked like twisted grays. They were weird. They were different. And as we were doing a show, somebody was like, hey, have you seen Aaron Donahue's remote viewing representations of the demons of the Goetia? And here's one right here, for example. And that's very much what we saw in the Great Pyramid when we did our ritual there. And we were like, holy shit, were the demons of the Goetia like sitting outside, like watching us the whole time? I can't say for certain, but I can say that the resemblances are pretty uncanny in my humble opinion, which takes me back to demons again. I think there are intelligent entities, but they're interdimensional, and they're more grays. And so it's hard for me to say that extraterrestrials exist, because I think they're more interdimensional. I don't think they come from thousands of light years away, hundreds of thousands of light years away. I think rather they come from right here, and they manifest from right here within this space. And oh, my mind is going in so many different directions right now. I mean, we can talk about Blue Beam, we can talk about all this stuff. I mean, I think the US government just did like a whole UFO committee or something like that, or started a UFO agency or something like that, and are coming on disclosing about UFOs and whatnot. And I've got to say it's all Blue Beam. And I think Blue Beam is different than what we first anticipated it to be, because the technology changed. At first it was supposed to be a blanket of barium and aluminum in the sky, with satellites projecting holograms on there. And these are the government documents showing that this is what their planned intentions were, to use this in combat and project the enemy's deity over whoever they're fighting. So if we're fighting in the Middle East, they can project Allah, and they can also do auditory hallucinations in their ears saying, oh, stand down, these people are of God, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But now we have nanobots running through most of the population's body. And with that, that's a much better screen, in my humble opinion, than barium and aluminum in the sky, to be able to project within people's minds of a completely different reality that doesn't actually exist out there, but people see it and they feel it. And when I start adding everything all up politically, when it comes to the divide of the left and the right, I mean, just greatly, greatly, greatly divided. And it's not just the United States, it's most of the Western world. Huge split in consciousness, in the way people view each other, and the way people view the world, all the way down to the really far left extremist stuff, to literally everything. With the zombie virus, for example, some people were walking around thinking that the air is contaminated and walking around like it's Fallout 4. They've got their masks on, they've got their face mask on, they've got their gloves on, and they've got all this on, as if we're living in like a post-nuclear apocalypse or something like that. And others, like ourselves, who were just like, this is the flu, nothing more. It's just a flu. Just everybody stop. But you had two very different ways of viewing the world, and people lived in their own realities. So I think all this is just like, it's priming. It's what do you call it when you prepare the soil? Tinning the soil, turning the soil. I don't know what the word is.
Yeah, it's turning it.
Turning, yeah, whatever what the term is.
You have to prepare it.
It's priming the soil
Mm-hmm.
for whatever is going to be planted, and there's going to be two distinct realities. And imagine this: you've got those who've gotten the vacation, right? And they're actually seeing this, and they think that we're the crazy ones.
Right.
We're saying there's nothing there. This is just it's a hologram. It's an illusion. That's all it is. Like, no, it's real. It's real. They're coming to kill us, or they're coming to help us, or they're coming to help us ascend, or whatever the hell the case may be. It's crazy, man.
I'm sorry,
it's
but
crazy.
You know, stuff like this.
Let me put the camera. Oh, I actually just had that picture on the screen here.
Just like that.
What is that? That's the Goetia,
That's the
right?
Demon Veil from the 1863 edition of Colin.
Yeah, this is
Pauline
it,
de
right?
Plancy's Dictionnaire Infernal. Yeah.
This is it on the screen, right?
Yes.
Okay.
That's him.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm sorry, but when I see pictures like some of these demons, they're indistinguishable to me from the depictions of angels that they're actually drawing out from the Book of Revelation. Indistinguishable. Like they're so alike that I have to surmise that angels and demons are basically the same. They're two sides of the same coin, one being light, and one being dark. But it's not really even light and dark because they're all dark. They're all working for the same entity. It's all one big thing. And surprise, it's all inside of you. All of that, even the God part, all that, it's a program that's activated sometimes, and when that's activated, you're doing it to yourself. It's almost like I feel like if there is like what you refer to as like hell or purgatory or things like that, you send yourself there because you've made the mistake of opening that program inside of your consciousness called the Yahweh program, and you've opened that program and you've played that stupid game, and
you win stupid prizes,
and you won a stupid prize.
Here's the thing. You raise a good point. Okay, so if we know, and I use know with G and O for gnosis, if we know truly within us as magicians or whatever, that we create our reality, manifest our reality, right? And it's even if it's down to the basic level of motivational speaking, where what you think is what you say is what you manifest. Even if you want to take it down to that very base level, right? We manifest our reality based on our actions and our thoughts and so on and so forth. Why would the case not be the same after we die
and
move on and be transformed into whatever else is on the other side?
Right.
So if you believe that there's heaven and hell, then you'll go to heaven and hell. And the thing is, when the soul is released from the body, then the soul is non-biased. The soul...
Non-biased, yeah.
Non-biased, yeah. The soul will judge itself based on... And if you want to use the metaphor of Mott's scale, and if your consciousness is lighter or heavier than Mott's feather. Lighter meaning that you
don't care enough.
You don't, and heavier meaning that you have unfinished business and all this. If it's not equal to Mott's feather, then your soul itself says, okay, this is what you deserve. You either deserve to go back and redo it over again and get it right, or you deserve punishment, or you deserve paradise, or you deserve whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, nothing is forever. And that's what I've learned from my experiences, is that ignorance is bliss, bliss is ignorance, but ignorance is freaking boring. I mean, the first couple of years of doing DMT, it was like blissful, 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 blissful. And then it was like, I want more. I want more. There's no dynamic in here. There's no change. There's no polarization to make the bliss be bliss. And I want more than this. I want to know. Now I want to know. Now I want to get to who am I? What is this world about? So on and so forth. And that's when the journey really began. So at the same note, would that not be the case when we leave our bodies?
Right. I think that's exactly the case when we leave. When I leave my body on DMT, I'm relieved. I don't know if that makes any sense to you. It's freedom. Is a sense of freedom. People are so afraid of leaving their body on DMT that they get freaked out, and then they're like, I don't want to go anywhere, and it's like they grip onto whatever they're holding onto, and they just grip it, and it's a bad 10 minutes for them. Because they're not surrendering to the process, but if you surrender to the process, it's beautiful. It's freedom, because all the constraints that, especially if you have a body that is constantly experiencing something unpleasant, it's freedom. It's pure freedom, and it is bliss just being out of the body, and I have no problem leaving the body. And it's over too quick with DMT. That's why I appreciate ayahuasca a lot more, because ayahuasca's a lot more gnosis building.
I'd like to know what people think out there about this idea. For me personally, I feel freer in the dream state.
Me too.
I feel freer in the ayahuasca state. It seems less dense. This world seems to be getting denser and denser and denser. And I don't know, maybe it's just part of getting older, but you start to get the aches and pains in your back. You start to just feel heavier, and you just start to feel more weighted down, and you've got, worries and all kinds of stuff. And it's all three-dimensional bullshit at the end of the day. It doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, but it matters very much right now.
Right.
But you've got the weights pushing down on you, and just, thought loops and all kinds of stuff like that. Then you go into the dream state and you feel free.
No stress.
Going to the ayahuasca state, you feel free. Do y'all feel like that? Does it feel more dense, and do y'all feel like the dream state is freer? And if so, is that indicative of the afterlife experience?
Other people are saying the exact same thing. It feels much more dense.
But the flip side of that, and I was thinking about this, is do you have the sensations on the other side? The sensations of sex, the sensations of love, the sensations of taste, the sensations of touch, because I don't really feel that in the dream state.
Yeah, I know.
But the dream state is so much more pleasant, because there's less.
It's
there's no weight. There's no weight.
Bogged down by
right.
stuff. Yeah, exactly. No, I completely understand what you mean, because it's not bogged down by all and they're piling on the stress and worries on top of everything we've already discussed tonight. On top of all of that, they're piling on economic worries. They're piling on worries about, people losing health care, people losing their job, people losing, their home. It's getting to where it's so dense that people are preferring to stay in a dream state. And that's also a big problem lately, is that people have been going psychotic or experiencing some kind of like mental health issues that are like depression and anxiety and things like that. They used to be, something that were a marketing scheme that was overused to make money for pharmaceutical companies. But now I really think that what they're doing with vacations and the shedding in conjunction with that, it's making everybody receptors all messed
Well,
up.
I've got to say, if there is a hell, that is hell, is walking around here in this physical space in a dreamlike with a dreamlike consciousness, where you're just like walking around, you're feeling all the density of this. You don't really have control, over what's going on, which goes back to what we were talking about in the first hour, all those people freaking out on the airplane.
Right.
I think there's something more to it. They're actually feeling something. They're experiencing something. They're scared of something, or something's overtaken them. Something's going on.
Yeah.
And they're feeling that.
Yeah.
And they're just sitting like backseat as passengers, watching themselves act in all these different ways that they probably wouldn't act in normal circumstances. And being invaded by something.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's getting so
and see, we're at a place now where it doesn't have to be, even though I think it is, but it doesn't have to be ethereal. It doesn't have to be interdimensional. It doesn't have to be supernatural. It could just be something as simple as technology, like mind control, MK Ultra type of technology being beamed into people's freaking heads through
voice to skull technology and things like that. It could be something that somebody's installed on that plane.
Remember the shooter? He was an army guy. He went to the military base and shot it up. He was saying that the day before, his microwave was talking to him. He was hearing things coming out of the microwave. Now, what else is emitting microwave signals all over the place now? It starts with the 5, and it has the symbol of the Mason on there. Y'all know what it is. I don't want to say it because,
somebody said that they invited the devil into their home when they were 17. It began contacting his family. I'd like to hear more about that. Zeke, I think it was Zeke that said that. I'm not sure. It's Go by Sifas. You guys are awesome in the chat. By the way, thank you to everybody.
I was watching 10 Ouija board possessions. Some of them look staged for clicks, right?
Yeah, of course.
But there were some. There was an incident that happened in a school. And again, this always happens in Latin countries for some reason. And I want to say that there's a connection between Catholicism.
Oh yeah.
And possession.
It's
almost like if you believe in it, then you're subject
You've
to it.
You've already opened the program.
Yeah. You've
opened the program. You can't just.
So all these school kids
keep out other parts of the program.
They had something happen, a tragedy. I don't know if it was a shooting or if it was the school collapsed or something. There was a tragedy that happened. And they decided to try to contact some of the dead kids on a Ouija board. And this is the entire class. They're wearing their school uniforms, all kinds of stuff like this. It's the entire class, and they're playing on the Ouija board. And all of a sudden, it's like a mass possession. There's 25 kids who are acting possessed, screaming and yelling. The cops had to show up, get these kids under control, take them away, get them psych evaluations, all kinds of stuff like that. And they opened something up with the Ouija board. How do you account for that?
Okay, the only thing I can say is when you raise a kid with that program already installed, opened, and executed, it's too late. It's already to the point where when things happen, that child is going to manifest the worst things because you've installed them in that little consciousness. And that poor thing is just executing a program that it's too young to understand, much less fight against. If it was an adult, it could use rationality, it could use logic, it could use skepticism, it could seek out answers online. But a child is not going to have the capacity to think in that dynamic. It's just scared.
I can't get the video to play, but
that's just mean.
Actually, I take that back. It wasn't 25. It was 100. Nearly 100 school children possessed by the devil have contagious visions of man in black trying to kill them. Almost 100 school children are thought to have been possessed by the devil and see visions of a man trying to kill them. And what has been described as a mass case of demonic possession, the pupils in Peru are experiencing seizures along with their horrifying hallucinations. Experts have struggled to explain the strange ongoing, which also included widespread convulsions and faintings at the school. According to the local reports, as many as 80 students at Elsa Perea Flores School in northern Peru have been experiencing the supposed contagious condition since last month. Now, I wish I had the video to play for you because the video's pretty creepy, but they say that even to this day, kids that are going to the school are still seeing the same man in black trying to kill them. And one kid said that he felt hands actually around his neck.
Oh,
And
wow.
and strangling. So
I found a list.
we've got to balance all this stuff out. I
Yeah.
can tell you my own DMT experiences and ayahuasca experience and what my views are and everything.
Mhm.
But then we also have to balance it out with the objective stuff rather than
Oh,
subjective
wow.
stuff.
Okay, so I found a list of mass hysteria cases, but you have to admit when something's happening to more than one person at a time, you have to wonder. Okay, so random rumors. In 2001, the Monkey Man of Delhi. Random rumors about a hairy monkey-looking monster roaming the streets of Delhi in India led to the deaths of 2 or 3 panicked people who fell from roofs or stairwells while fleeing what they thought was the monster. Seriously? North Carolina in 2002, 10 girls developed seizures and other symptoms at a rural North Carolinian high school. Symptoms persisted for 5 months across various grade levels. Incidents tended to happen outside of class, with half of all incidents estimated to have occurred around lunch hour. Half of the affected were cheerleaders or former cheerleaders.
I don't know if this is going to be on the list or not, but there was a village that they just started dancing. And they couldn't stop dancing, and they just went on and on and on and on dancing. And what they say is there was a psychedelic
mushrooms.
Well, I don't
something.
know if it was a mushroom, it was a fungus or something that they were
Ergot
eating.
poisoning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the whole village had been eating this
Mm.
and was just tripping for days and days and days and days and was just like dancing in this trance. So some of this can be explained. Some of this can be explained,
Some of it,
like
yeah.
the Oracle at Delphi.
Mm-hmm.
They say, and this is what they say, and that's this diabolical they that we keep talking about, but they say that it was due to fumes that were coming up from where the oracle was, and she was going into a hallucinogenic state,
Yeah.
and coming up with visions based on that. So they try
They
to
were
explain
right,
a lot
though.
of this away. But when you have so many different instances, can you chalk that up to the exact same thing, or is it something beyond the veil?
Right. That's a very, very good question, because there was a strawberries with sugar virus, 2006. In May 2006, an outbreak of the so-dubbed Morangos com Aquar virus, strawberries with sugar virus, was reported in Portuguese schools, named after the popular teen girls show Morangos com. I think its symptoms included rashes, difficulty breathing, and dizziness. The belief that there was a medical outbreak forced some schools to temporarily close. The Portuguese National Institute for Medical Emergency eventually dismissed the illness as mass hysteria. That reminds me of that dude that actually did die when all they did was nick his arm, but they blindfolded him and told him they were going to execute him by exsanguination, and then cut his wrist, but they didn't cut deep enough to kill him, but they made like a dripping sound with a bucket, and he actually ended up dying because he thought he was dying.
Oh, that's true.
For
those of you that haven't heard this, there was an execution that they did in Russia, and they wanted to do an experiment, and they blindfolded the guy and told him that they were slitting his wrists and executing him, and just the sound of the blood actually caused him to die. People in the chat are talking about the Hat Man that's on the screen, so I thought I'd pull that up real quick.
Go ahead.
People have seen the Hat Man, along with Slender Man. And Slender Man was supposedly a story written by somebody back in 2010 or something like that. And there was a case where a young girl went and tried to kill two young girls went and tried to kill one of their classmates as a sacrifice of Slender Man. I won't get into it. We got into it in a previous show. But where are these entities coming from? And it's funny that they point to the Hat Man, because those kids that were at that school were saying that a figure in black was coming to kill them. The first video that we played of Tiffany Gomez, according to the witness, who that's in dispute, but according to the witness, she was talking to a guy in a black hoodie, a hooded guy who was talking telepathically to her, and not really responding to her or anything like that. Another dark entity like that. And she's like, that guy's not real. That guy's not real. That guy's not real. Where did they come from?
Where did they come from? Well, they've always been here. I think that's the bottom line that I'd like to make, is that they've always been here, and something is allowing them to have much more influence and authority than they usually have in the past. And I think we all know what that is. And anything that can change your consciousness is capable of doing this. And I think it's spread the incidents of possession and things like that to people that usually wouldn't be affected by it. I think that, like, the Catholicism thing, I held that same belief for a really, really, really long time, and I think that changed in 2021, 2022, and because of what we're all thinking. The elephant in the room, ladies and gentlemen. It changed everything about what that is, because it changed the consciousness, and because anything that can cross the blood-brain barrier can do that, and it can then alter your consciousness and make you things and experience things and perceive things completely differently than other people, or the majority of people. But I'd like to see if it happens in the future where multiple people at a time are seeing things while others aren't. Like the vacation, they're all seeing it, but the people that aren't seeing it, and there's big groups of people arguing about it. I think we're gonna get there eventually. What do you think?
I can't play the song, but I can at least play it on keyboard. There we go.
So
that's not a good sound for it, but let's go down the list a little more. Mexico City.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Mexico City in 2006, 2007, between October 2006 and June 2007, near Chalco, a working-class suburb of Mexico City, mass hysteria resulted in an outbreak of unusual symptoms experienced by more than 500 adolescent female students at Children's Village School. Ooh, that's an interesting name, because it's also the name of a group of foster homes here in the United States. A Catholic boarding school. The affected students had difficulty walking and were feverish and nauseated, some becoming partially paralyzed. In Vinton, Virginia in 2007, an outbreak of twitching, headaches, and dizziness affected at least 9 girls and 1 teacher at William Byrd High School. William Byrd, that name sounds familiar. I think it was named... No, that's Robert Byrd. The episode lasted for months amid other local public health scares. Tanzania, 2008. In September 2008, 20 girls at a school in Tabora started fainting while taking their final year exams. The mass fainting has been linked to neurosis related to the local practice of witchcraft. Ooh, that one's interesting. Parents angry at mystery fainting. Here's the article.
Well, I just sent you a link. Somebody in the chat said to look up topaz. And the topaz is basically a particle simulator.
Oh.
And the paper that I just sent you was the topaz tool for particle simulation. Monte Carlo simulation tool for physics, biologically. I don't know if this is what they're referring to, but supposedly it's polymer that manifests out of thin air.
Ooh.
I don't know. It's just a brief thing that I saw in the chat real quick.
Ooh, that's
we'll look it up and
we'll look at
talk about it later. Yeah.
Yeah. Afghanistan, 2009. Starting around 2009, a spate of apparent poisonings at girls' schools across Afghanistan began to be reported with. Oh, it hasn't ended yet. Began to be reported with symptoms including dizziness, fainting, and vomiting. The UN and the WHO and NATO's International Security Assistance Force carried out investigations of the incidents over multiple years, but have never found any evidence of toxins or poisoning. In the hundreds of blood, urine, and water samples they tested, the conclusion is that the girls have had a mass psychogenic illness. I don't believe that. Despite these findings, Afghan officials often blame the incidents on the Taliban, accusing them of contaminating the school's water supply or using poison gas. Brunei. In April and May 2010, incidents of mass hysteria, at 2 all-girls secondary schools in Brunei. The most recent notable event happened on April 24th, 2014 in a public secondary school. The phenomenon caused a wave of panic among many parents, educators, and members of the community. Some of the students affected by the phenomenon claimed to have been possessed by spirits or jinn, displaying histrionic symptoms such as screaming, shaking, fainting, and crying. Ooh.
There's a lot of them.
Leroy,
Oh,
New
the
York.
2016 clown sightings. I remember these. Remember when this was happening?
Oh, I remember the clown sightings.
2012 to 2016 was so weird because you had so many different instances of like, there was a bunch of naked people that were seen like running across highways, almost as if they had like materialized from a Terminator style time travel thing. There was the zombie outbreak where you had people like biting each other's faces off and they were blaming it on bath salts and they were blaming it on all this stuff.
It was insane.
Yeah. And then you had that one guy that escaped a lab in Florida and he was actually eating somebody's face on the side of the road.
No joke. Like eating
Like no
it,
joke. Yeah. And they said he escaped from a mental hospital, but he really escaped from a laboratory, in my opinion.
It was a lab doing experiments.
Yeah. And it's funny how we got to 2020, and I was waiting for zombies, and I'm not even joking with
I
this.
think it's
like,
still going to happen.
I talk about this, and people are like,
I'm still waiting for zombies.
But if
I
you
think it's
mix the
totally
zombie
gonna happen.
virus, which, you know, what was actually out there with rabies, according to National Geographic, you do get a legitimate zombie virus. You get a host whose brain has been taken over. His brain has been damaged by rabies, but it's kept alive by the flu. And you mix those two and it starts to go after brains. And they experimented this with like animals and little insects and stuff like that. And they become zombies and start to eat each other's brains.
Yep.
This is very real. So in 2016, there were all these clown sightings. Sightings of people in evil clown costumes around the United States, Canada, and 18 other countries were dismissed as a case of mass hysteria, stating that a fear of clowns, which is common in children, may be the underlying cause. However, I remember seeing video after video after video. They might have been fake. But I did see video after video after video of that.
The website Vox likewise claimed that the Great Clown Panic of 2016 has been perpetuated by pretty much everyone except actual clowns. I don't believe that. I remember seeing video after video after video of different sources. It wasn't just like one source. It was a bunch of different sources. The Charlie Panic in 2015, 14s in Tunja, Colombia were hospitalized and several in the Dominican Republic were considered possessed by Satan after playing the Charlie Challenge viral game. I don't even remember that. Do you remember the Charlie?
I remember that. It's like Bloody Mary.
Oh, yeah.
Where you go in and you say Charlie a few times and maybe some other stuff. I'm not going to play any of these videos, but I'm just going to put them on the screen. If you type in Clowns 2016, you get video after video. But again, they could be staged because you get some news article stuff out there. YouTubers out there will go out, try to get hits. And so they'll go out and they'll do these clown videos. We saw this with a program called Randonautica, which we've talked about before, but it's basically an AI program and you tap into an artificial intelligence and you manifest something and you tap into a quantum computer, which then manifests something. And you had all these fake videos on TikTok with people like going to a place and being chased and all kinds of stuff like that. And then you had the few real ones. And the biggest one was, of course, the one in Seattle where they said, "Take me to death." And they actually found dead bodies in suitcases on the side of the shoreline. And police were called and a huge investigation and all this stuff. And these people were live streaming the Randonautica. So it sucks because people just trying to get clicks will muddy up the waters like this. So you take it for what it's worth, but it's right there for you to look up. 2016 clowns.
Kedaray, Malaysia. Listen to this one. In August 2019, the BBC reported that schoolgirls at the Kedaray National Secondary School in Kelantan started screaming, with some claiming to have seen a face of pure evil. Professor Simon Wesley, a former president of the Royal College of Psychiatrists, suggested it was a form of collective behavior. Robert Bartholomew, a medical sociologist, suggested it was due to the stricter implementation of Islamic law in the school. The school responded to the outbreak by cutting down the trees around the school, believing they were home to supernatural spirits.
Brent Thomas is in the house. Brent, how you doing?
What is up?
Paranormal Portal, one of my favorite shows. We're actually talking about some Paranormal Portal type stuff tonight.
Yeah.
I was going to call you this morning.
Yeah.
And I talked about this in the beginning of the show, so forgive me for being redundant, but we were watching this video of Tiffany Gomez on the plane who's saying that motherfucker's not real. That motherfucker's not real. And we were watching her apology video, and we've been playing on the Ouija board over the last few days. And we were playing on the Ouija board as we were doing this and kind of going back and forth, playing on the Ouija board. So we was doing her demonology study, you know, things like this. And I put on the apology video and I'm like, she's a freaking reptilian. And as soon as I say reptilian, I hear this huge, deep growling hiss. And I thought it was the cats, and the cats were like chilling on the bed. And the weirdest thing is the cats didn't even react to it. But Cherie and I both heard it, and we got up and we high-fived each other and we're like, fuck yeah, we saw some paranormal stuff.
Something.
Yes.
Nice.
And I think whatever was on the other side of that Ouija board was a little bit disappointed with our reaction, but I thought you would find that story really interesting.
Yeah.
So welcome, brothers. Nice to see you. Yeah. I was going to call you. I will call you tomorrow. So.
Yeah. I'd like to hear what he has to say about that. This is really interesting because they cut down all the trees around the school because the government believed the girls that there really were supernatural spirits inside of these trees, and so they cut down all the trees around the school. Stara Hay Girls Center, Kenya, October 2019. 52 students were isolated with an unknown disease. They just said it was a case of mass hysteria. I mean, this happens over and over and over. There's a lot of them. I mean, and I don't think that hysterical contagion is. I think it's more rare. I think it's much more likely that programs like just like the Islamic one. They instituted Islamic law, like much more stricter Islamic law, in the school itself. So the girls were probably like feeling the heat a lot and feeling more stressed out. And when you amp up religion, somehow it seems to amp up these entity experiences and the perceptions of them. Do you see that?
Yes, I'm actually looking something up because there was another. Here we go. You know what? We'll just watch. Well, this video is 17 minutes long.
It's like Nancy. Now I lay me down and to sleep.
I don't want to put this whole 17-minute video on, but okay, this is the one I was looking for. I'm glad it's number 1 or number 10, I should say. This is top 10 Ouija board possessions caught on tape. This is the one that got me thinking. This is interesting. I'm gonna play this. I don't know if you were watching this or if you were asleep. Like she's asleep while I'm doing this in the same room.
That's correct.
This is a digital Ouija board. Okay, this is a phone. It's an app, and again, this happens in the Latin countries where they're really tied into Catholicism. So check this out.
Spirits using a homemade Ouija board, then it stands to reason that a digital version would work just as well. This is what happened to an 18-year-old girl from Lima, Peru when she used a Ouija board app on her smartphone. After using the app with her friends to ask just a few questions, Patricia Quispe somehow managed to summon a spirit that apparently followed her home. Soon after playing with the board, her parents noticed that she started to throw violent tantrums and foam at the mouth.
Según testigos, ella presentó una aparente posesión satánica luego de jugar a la Ouija.
Her voice changed too. It became strained and evil. As she thrashed about in her restraints, the poor girl often shouted the same phrases over and over again. She would repeat the number 6 3 times in a row, and she would also tell doctors to give her back her phone, presumably so that she could get back on the Ouija app and cause further damage. She was taken to a psychiatric ward to be further examined. Whether she regained her senses or remains internally possessed is a mystery. Number 9, the summoning.
So, what do you think of that?
I think
we need to get Brent on.
That's a sick. Yeah, we need to get Brent on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't know if things are hooked up right now to where I can bring on a
Oh
guest.
yeah, yeah.
But Brent, if you're up for a little chat, I'll see if we can get you on Zoom or something like that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So what do you think about that?
I think it's likely that the poor girl has had that program open since infancy, and it took advantage of the seed's already been planted, and it grew when she opened that Ouija board app on her phone, it's the power of suggestion is everything here, because she knew that Ouija board that was what she knew to be true. That's her perception, is that this Ouija board has the potential to do this to me, and it happened. It's kind of like, it's self-manifesting.
Let's try to get Brent Thomas on.
Yeah, let's try to get Brent on, because I think because he's an expert on this.
Yes.
I consider him an expert on this.
Yeah, I didn't want the show to go on this long, but since Brent's in the house,
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. So since we're on this topic of demons, I'm going to play a track that Sharina about demons. If I can find my tracks. I've got all these different songs mastered, songs going to the studio.
Actually have it right here if you...
No, I'm talking about the other one.
Okay.
Face the Shadows. All right, so let me try to get Brent on. We'll be right back.
Oh, you think darkness is your ally? You merely adopted the dark. I was born in it, molded by it. I didn't see the light until I was already a man.
Staring at the abyss, I can see the darkness engulfing my soul like a solar eclipse. I won't run from this, I won't even look away. I've got to face it down and close this dark gate. I try to breathe deep as my heartbeat quickens, as I fall in deeper to this ayahuasca vision. I try to take control, but I lose it all the same. As above, so below, trying to find my true name, trying to find my true self. But how can this be? The evil I'm confronting is inside of me. What a wretched beast. This enemy's got the best of me, but it was plain to see. This battle's internal, in this world infernal. Now this victory will shine with a light eternal. Igniting my spark and formulating a plan. Now I step into the dark, light sword in hand.
How do I face the shadows that haunt me when the love...
Oh, this is the unmastered version. Oh, that's why it says to the studio. Anyways, I think we have Brent on, so let me see if we can get something going here. Mrs. Geo stepped out for a brief moment. Let me just see if this is going to work out here. Brent Thomas, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing, brother?
Awesome. It works, dude. My mixer is out and I had to do a bunch of digital stuff. So, man, it's good to talk to you, dude. Your background is looking awesome as always. And welcome to the Paranormal Portal.
My cat just stepped on my soundboard and hit one of the buttons. So, dope. All right. Yeah, I'm here, brother.
Cool.
I'm here. It's
cool.
Good to see you, man. What's going on?
Oh, it's good to see you too, man. We've been getting into demonology and all kinds of stuff like that, and had some interesting experiences earlier today. And I think I had my first paranormal encounter, which I was so freaking I'm just. I want to see something move. That's really what I want to see. But like I was telling you, we were messing around with the Ouija board. We've been doing so for the past couple of days. And right when I said something, I heard this huge, loud, hissing, growling noise coming from behind me. Both Sheree and I both heard it. We were like, what the hell is that? And I thought it was the cats fighting. And the cats were just sitting in the bed. And so you always hear these stories about, stuff happening to people doing Ouija boards and sounds and all kinds of stuff like that. But I think I experienced for myself firsthand. And rather than being scared, I jumped up and I was like, yes, yes, yes. We finally heard something. How do I get these things to actually move something around, though?
I don't know. That's the tough one. That's kind of like the holy grail of paranormal investigating, is to actually catch something moving. I mean, there's a lot of YouTube channels that allegedly show that, but But I think that a lot of that is got to be staged, because now I have seen that personally. I've seen that several times. There was one time when I had a chandelier pull out of the ceiling after I walked through the room and hit the floor in my old house back in Minnesota. That was one of my big moments. But I've seen I've seen doors open and close. I've seen things turn on. I had this those thumper massagers that you get.
Yeah.
I had one of those, and I had it on the couch, and it had a really hard switch. Like it wasn't easy. And I was sitting there just out in the living room in the couch or in the chair next to it. And all of a sudden the massager turns on. Bum, 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 bum. I'm like, oh wow, that's no small thing.
It's a horny
But
demon.
then soon after that it burned out. So it's like, oh, you destroyed it. So that stuff happens.
That is awesome, man. That is awesome. I know you do Paranormal Portal. Real quick, tell people youtube.com/paranormal portal, right?
Sure. That's one for the YouTube channel. That's there. Of course, I'm on TFR Live every Friday and Saturday nights. And I am also, I have a podcast that's released every Monday. And you can find that on all the major platforms, like dozens of them. But yeah, and that's audio only. But yeah, I'm doing as many shows as I can squeeze out of myself.
Nice. So you've been doing this for a long time. What are some of the stories that stick out to you the most? I guess let me backtrack for a second. We were going over these videos, right? The 10 Ouija board possessions, and some of them I was like, this looks fake, this looks staged, this one looks real. When you've got news and you've got doctors and you've got all that covering it, I've got to give that a little more credit than just a couple of people sitting in a room somewhere and somebody's like, oh, I'm possessed. But what are some of the creepiest ones that you've come across?
Oh God. In the thousands of them that I've read. I mean, they're all creepy, but I tell you what, with Ouija boards, here's the thing. A lot of people think that just by virtue of it being a Ouija board, it's like, oh God, that's evil, don't touch it. And I don't share that belief at all. I think that it's basically, it's a piece of board or plastic that has a picture on it. And it's no more dangerous than a Homer Simpson placemat for your cereal bowl. I mean, just because it's a piece of something with a design on it doesn't make it dangerous. But what I do think is the problem is that they're marketed for kids. Like, what is it, 8 and up or something like that? Or some craziness like
That's
that.
so the devil can access the children.
Yeah.
I heard somebody actually say that the other day.
So I'm like, oh, that's not good. But I'll tell you what, if you look at all kinds of esoteric and occult practices that deal with channeling, with conjuring, with summoning, with, all of those things, they don't just have someone sign up and go, well, here's what you do. Just go ahead, summon something, see what you can do. These people train, when you're in spirituality, you're touching energies and essences that's, they're different than us in a lot of ways, but they train. People like, let's say Rosicrucians or any esoteric order like that, they train. They don't start with summoning things. They work towards, developing the mind, body, spirit. They work towards meditating and they focus. There's so many facets of it. It's kind of like a martial art in a sense. You don't give someone a karate uniform and say, all right, here's a cement block, put your head into that. They got to work up to it. You got to work. And so the same is true in spiritual practices. I think that there 99% of the time with a Ouija board, probably nothing really amazing is going to happen. But when it does happen, these people are, it's like slumber parties. Well, what the hell are a bunch of 8-year-old girls going to do? It's, when something comes. And the other part that I think is dangerous about them is that basically when you're using a Ouija board, you're making yourself a blind channel. So you're touching this and you're saying, something come through and talk to us. Well, it's coming through your energy field as well. And I think that if there is dark and evil, horrible things around, the thing that they seem to want to do the most is to possess or destroy people. That's just it. And so in order to do that, they have to break down your barriers, your resistance. And a lot of times that's what oppression is. Demonic oppression deals with the systematic breaking down through this long expanded war of attrition with the person. And, they're just attacked all the time for days, weeks, months, years, until they finally just are too weak to resist. But when you're holding this Ouija board, you're saying, hey, it's grandpa there. Well, it may not be grandpa, but you just put on the open for business sign for something that is dark around. So my position on this is that people should know how to set an environment, how to tune an environment, how to ward against negativity using crystals, using essences, oils, mantras, symbols, any number of things, prayers, to ward against the dark things, and then do it. And the other part I think is not good, is that dragging a piece of plastic over goodbye doesn't close that. It doesn't close a portal. I mean, it's got to be a very spiritual and directed process to
let me jump in for just a second, because I have just been saying goodbye and going to goodbye, and that's it. So I need to do more.
Really?
Yes. Seriously. Like, all right, goodbye.
He's like, no wonder you've got shit going on.
And you heard what?
Dude, the weirdest
Growling.
thing, the cat, she would not get off the Ouija board
Yeah,
today.
she wouldn't let
it's sitting on the coffee table, and she's getting on there, and she's like, no, you're
He's
not
like,
going to play
"You're
with
not
this. You're
gonna
not
play
going to
with
play
this
with this. You're not
anymore."
gonna... She's sitting on top of it.
Or she was guarding.
Yeah, she was guarding.
Because that was still an active portal.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
He wasn't going to let
How do
anything
you
out.
close a Ouija board properly?
Well, it depends on your belief systems, of course, but I mean, basically, you've got to have a process of visualization, of motion, of I don't want to say incantation, but because that just sounds like I'm trying to teach, like I'm working at Hogwarts here. But I mean, like that would have opened, I now close. That what I close, I now seal, and that what I seal, I now shatter. And so it's visualization, it's energy, it's and then using things like the frankincense or other essences to cleanse that energy and to close it. Some people use Reiki, using a practice or a technique called the Choku Rei, which is a symbolic gesture of, it almost looks like a number 5 with the 5 parts swirling 3 times and doing that motion energetically with your hands and such. I usually don't get into this too much because I never want to put that advice out there.
Well, it's better than not doing it, dude. I mean, that's what he's been doing this whole time and I think that's exactly what happened, is that we've been leaving the portal open the whole time, and the cat's like, okay, too many things are coming through this portal. So
I typically don't mess with this stuff, but from time to time I've had different dreams, and they're usually the same. I'm in this occult bookstore. It's a smoky background, red lighting, and the guy is standing behind the counter, and he hands me a board and he says, they've been waiting to talk to you. And I've had this repeating dream, not very frequently, every few years. And I had one of these dreams the other day, and I was like, okay, let's see who wants to talk to me. Let's get on here and make some calls. So I had an interesting conversation earlier today, and I was playing by myself. And I know you're not supposed to play by yourself. And when you're playing by yourself, it's always difficult to tell if you're just moving it by hand, if it's a subconscious thing or if it's actually something that's there. I try to wait for the pulling, but it's kind of hard to distinguish. But I kept getting the message over and over again. People are dying. And I was like, well, what can I do about it? And they're like, build a raft. And I'm like, what the hell does that mean?
Oh, you're not
Consciousness? What are you talking about?
This, Brent.
It didn't hit me. And Cherie woke up, and I'm like, yeah, I was playing with it, and it said build a raft. And she's like, you do not realize what's going on right now? And I was like, what? And she's like, we have flash floods in Las Vegas. 1,000 people just died because they're living in the tunnels in Las Vegas. And so they're saying there's 1,000 people now. There were 2,000 4 weeks ago. So about 1,000 people are dead now, according to their numbers. They're saying only 2 people got washed out, but they're saying there's 1,000 people living under there now.
Missing from.
And I was like, holy shit, that's true. Like over the past couple of weeks, we've had flash floods, and the tunnels are just flooded.
When you watch the documentaries about the underground tunnels here and the people that live there, they all say the same thing. When they want to kill us, all they have to do is open the floodgates, and they kill us. And there's no way out.
will just get swept off.
And then another one asked for a quarter. And I was like, for what? And they're like, for the ferryman. And so I went outside and I put a quarter outside. And I was like, here, this is for you.
Oh, wow.
Guess
Did
what?
it disappear?
I'm not sure, because you never know what's on the other line, on the other side. Could be the same thing, it could not be. But it was just so weird. I don't think my subconscious would come up with that.
That is pretty wild. I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, of course, dreams can be very symbolic, but sometimes they're just, pretty direct as well.
No. This was a
hard to
Ouija
figure out
board
what
message. This was a Ouija board message. Like, it was like, need a quarter. It was like,
in the dream, though, right?
No. This is on the Ouija board.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, that's strange. I don't know. I mean, that's the thing. That's the hard part about a tool like that, and pretty much for anything, even doing paranormal research and investigation. It's like you're kind of just opening a door to whatever's there. Most of it's not really aimed. I guess you can try, like I was saying, you try to tune the environment, you try to protect yourself, you try to, make sure that things are cleansed and there's warding against dark, evil, horrible things. But yeah, I mean, oftentimes people don't know. And who can know? I guess it's largely speculative, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've got to be my own biggest skeptic.
Yeah, me too.
I looked for
We looked for anything
that could have caused that noise. When we heard the noise.
Yeah,
the first thing I thought was the cats.
Closets. I looked.
Yeah. And there was nothing that could have made that
Nothing
noise.
fell
But
off
I had
the
to
wall.
eliminate all that first. Likewise, the Ouija board message, I have to eliminate my subconscious first. It's weird. I wanted to bring you on because I wanted to get your take on some of these. You had mentioned the this one here that's on the screen. You saw the first one of the girl using a digital Ouija board. I mean, I guess first of all, can you comment on that? The digital
the one
Ouija
that's on the
smartphone.
phone.
I don't think it matters the medium. I think it matters that people are trying to connect and they're opening themselves to connection. Because a lot of paranormal investigation now, there's dozens and dozens of these tools that go on our phones, and a lot of people are like, well, that's just can't be, and there's a lot of crap out there. But I don't think the medium matters because one thing that is consistent in a lot of hauntings and people dealing with negative spiritual activity is they seem to have no trouble affecting electronics. They'll turn on TVs, they'll make lights go on and off, they'll change your channel. I had that happen here. A channel just changed and then my TV came on and froze on a weird image of Charlie Sheen with a grimace.
I remember that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He was like staring at Brent
Oh,
on the
creepy.
TV and it just froze.
That's creepy.
Yeah. It was really weird, and it said infamous on there in ghostly writing because it was like something about Charlie. They had done an expose on Charlie Sheen, but like the TV came on by itself. It did that. I never happened again. Never happened since.
So you have a lot of. I wouldn't say you have a lot of belief in this. I would say because of your experiences, you have a level of belief in this. Do you think the same is true for this girl she's already been raised with a very Catholic upbringing, very aware of demonic possession, very knowledgeable that using a Ouija board is probably not safe religiously speaking.
Right.
Do you think that made her very susceptible to this happening?
Sure, because I'm sure it probably happened. I mean, the biggest... I think one of the biggest weaknesses you can ever express in terms of evil spirits is fear, because fear is essentially a surrender in a sense, and I know it's got to affect our aura because I think our auras naturally protect us, and when we're feeling confident, it becomes stronger. But fear is, it's a weakness. You're allowing something control over you, so you allow that fear to make you afraid. So yeah, I think her fear was probably key to that. Probably. The fact that she knew she shouldn't have been doing it based on her religion.
Catholicism is fearful of these things. Yeah.
Terrified. Yeah. I mean, I've interviewed exorcists and stuff on my podcast and a doctor of psychology who's on the international board of exorcists because there's a very active medical component to that to discern where mental illness ends and possible possession begins. But I mean, they're very clear. The Catholicism view is that there isn't ghosts. So if there's things happening like that, it's evil. And
Yeah.
I don't know that I certainly don't agree with that.
I don't agree with
but I know that that's what they believe. And I think you kind of nailed it in a sense, Cherie, because, she believed. And I think
Yeah.
our belief does
Belief is a
create
powerful thing.
our reality,
Yeah.
right?
It's a powerful
So-
thing. Yeah.
We went to a cemetery a few weeks ago, maybe a couple months ago, and we were just doing a live stream Randonautica thing, and then started putting on a spirit box in a cemetery, and we were picking up all kinds of cool stuff.
It was really cool.
Yeah.
Amelia.
It was creepy, man. The cemetery was like, we went over there looking for Bluetooth signals because they say that post vacation you can
there's
find
the-
Bluetooth
yeah.
signals, and we went out there looking for that initially, and we found some, which was kind of weird. But then we decided, hey, let's turn on the spirit box and pick some stuff up. And we got Amelia coming through and watch out, and then the water came out right after it said watch out, and there was a couple of different just weird coincidences that were all done live. It was really cool. I don't know if you saw it, but
Oh.
yeah, okay, yeah, I'll send it to you because it was interesting. And there was one other okay, so what happened after that is we're driving and we're on the way home, we're still live streaming, and all of a sudden I hear this boom, and I'm like, oh, we popped a tire. We were about to turn the live stream off. We thought we popped a tire, so we go back to the 7-Eleven, and I was gonna change the tire and all that, and I look underneath it. There is half a scissor, and I've got it downstairs outside. There's half a scissor stuck up
Stabbed
into the car. Yeah.
Oh my.
Upward.
And so what we were hearing as we were driving was this piece of scissor, and it was one piece of scissor, not both of them, and it was like grinding against the cement as we were driving, which is what we were hearing.
How the hell did that happen?
And we're just like, what? We were like, okay, it's time to go home now.
Yeah, we're going home.
I've got this scissor
Something's
downstairs,
after
but
us.
everybody on the live stream was like, holy shit. I was like, holy shit. Because I was making a joke like right before that. And I was like, and there was a hook, and then I looked down and I'm like, oh my fucking God. And
Yeah,
there's a scissor stuck in the bottom of my freaking car.
Wow. Yeah,
They're
that's
still
creepy.
saying the story doesn't cut it. We need to show the video.
You got to see the video, dude.
Yeah, you got to see the video. It really.
That's
Yeah,
crazy. I
talking
would
about
tell
it
you
doesn't do it
that,
justice.
of course, with cemeteries, I don't know this cemetery or anything, but oftentimes people say, well, a lot of people show up and do rituals in there and stuff. One thing that I've heard alleged, and I don't know that it's true or not, but like if you ever find a ritualistic site, sometimes apparently you'll find real treasures laying around there, like these beautiful knives and things like that, and people grab them, but apparently they're kind of set as bait, and those are essentially cursed objects. And so it makes me wonder, like that scissors, it ended up in your car, for God's sakes, stuck in your car.
We were playing Randonautica. I don't know if you've heard of Randonautica. Yeah. Okay.
I got the app. I've never done it, but I've got the app. So
Okay. I think this might be the video here. And I started the video out joking and saying, we're gonna wind up finding a murder weapon. I'm gonna get my fingerprints on
That's
it or
exactly
something
what
like
he
that.
said.
Yeah. And we're just going to all these different places, and then at the end, I'm trying to find the video here, but oh man, it was a creepy night, man.
It was really, really creepy. Yeah,
it was creepy.
It really was,
horrible.
and it was. And so what I did was when we got home, I saged it and put it in a salt bath.
Good.
And left it there until after a whole full moon, until the new moon, and then I dumped it out. And that way it's just, it's not even, it's not even with us.
That's not your kid's kindergarten scissor kind of thing either, is it? It's you.
No, it's not. And then that.
All right. Bye. Good night. Okay, that was a joke from the 7-Eleven guy. But we pop it somewhere.
I have
don't
no
know where
idea
we pop
what
it.
happened.
No idea.
Something's being dragged.
Our tires are fine.
It's got to be something that's being dragged then.
Flip the camera.
So I don't have any sound. Is there a sound issue?
Oh,
or-
is it not coming back to
Oh,
you?
no.
Oh, man.
With a hook.
Okay,
Yeah,
well,
okay,
can you
so
at
at this
least
point
see,
I said
though?
there's a man with a hook. The audience can hear it, but I don't think it's
Yeah.
feeding back to you.
Okay, got it.
So I apologize about that. The mixer issue. I see there's a man with a hook, right? And I'm just kind of laughing.
Yeah, we're joking around, laughing.
Joking around. I'm looking at the tires. The tires are fine.
Yeah, I'm like,
that one.
That's weird. I thought it was that tire.
It's gotta be something under the car.
It's gotta be something under the car that's being dragged. And
so
fucking hook.
And you're like, oh my god! I just said it was
at this point, I'm
hook.
joking. I'm like, there's a hook.
I gotta get home to fix that.
Yeah.
Let me see where we pull it out.
I'm very grateful for that.
Okay, so here it is right here. I wish you could hear it, but you'll hear it later, I'm sure.
Sure.
Kind of weird feeling having your husband under the car. I'm glad that
Oh, fucking shit.
Whoa. What the hell?
This was stuck under the tire.
I said,
Okay,
oh,
so
what
here it
the
is.
hell? And he said, this is stuck under the tire.
This was stuck under the car.
Are you
Under the car.
serious?
That was stuck under the fucking
That was stuck
car.
under
I'm
the
like, that
fucking
was
car.
stuck under the fucking car.
Uh-huh.
That's what was stuck under the fucking
Oh
car.
my god.
I'm like, oh
So-
my god, something's trying to kill us.
Yeah, I know it's hard for you to see it on your screen, Brent, but for the audience, you can see
Yeah,
right there.
that was during
where
random nodding.
it
the
was
world order.
dragging, and it had cut the handle there. But yeah, man.
And also a truck disappeared out of nowhere while we were playing Randonautica too. Lots of weird shits happened while we've played Randonautica. It's almost like we step into a multi-dimensional part of this matrix where anything goes and things can be there 1 second and then the next second they just disappear into thin air. Literally into thin air. We have this truck behind us and then we turn and we look and there's no truck. And it's like, what the?
Yeah, Randonautica is weird. I wanted to get you on to comment on some of these videos, but if you can't hear the audio, then
then there's no.
That sucks.
I'm familiar with the next one that comes up because I use it on one of my break things from the show.
Okay, we can at least go through a couple
Four
of them.
girls are about to witness.
Okay, cool. Actually, I'll just leave it without sound, and we'll just comment on it. So these are four girls. They're at a party here. Actually, I think I do need to turn the sound up a little bit.
To clear the board.
Pause it. Go back to the first part when they're doing the board, and you can see the board. Okay, right there. Just pause it. The thing that makes this so much more potent and likely to be profound is that, okay, so in a lot of esoteric practices and occult practices, they talk about items. And so one of the big parts of a lot of the practices is to craft your own items.
Yes.
And because items need to be attuned to the user. So when you buy something like a Ouija board, one of the reasons I think that they're not very potent is because you're buying a pre-stamped out thing of plastic
that you did not create.
Using it. Yeah, you're not probably going to get a whole lot, but this is homemade.
Yeah,
These
that was
people
homemade.
made this. So they crafted it, which means it's also attuned to them doing this. And that's huge.
Another thing, Brent, I don't know if you noticed this or not, but all that candle light adds energy too, because they're attracted to energy. It's Lucifer. It's light. It's any kind of light energy. Being surrounded by that instead of electricity, is good too. I think.
Yeah, we made our own.
That's why electricity flickers.
But that one looks really well made. Like, I mean,
That
the
does
letters look like somebody put some time into it. I just scribbled it on there, A, B, C, D, F, G.
It's really good calligraphy.
But we did put three pentacles, one at the top, and two at the bottom.
And I seem to like those a lot.
Yeah, well, yeah, they go to those a lot, and it kind of keeps them contained. I think one of them was expressing a little bit of frustration because of the pentacles. And I was like, okay, well, you don't need to be here, so go away.
Yeah, it's a fence, and I think the cat knew that was the fence that was keeping them kind of contained, and that's why she was around that fence, and she's patrolling the fence.
Okay,
that's really cool.
So I'm going to play this one for the audience real quick.
They are now ready to end the session. They start to move the cup in a circle 3 times to clear the board, but whatever they have summoned is not exactly ready to leave quite yet.
Okay. Oh my god! It's hard! Get rid of it! The sword! Are you okay?
Just before the girls can cast the spirit back into its own dimension, it desperately leaps inside one of them and takes control. Then the possession ends as quickly as it began. They all...
Okay, so this is what I'm observing here. And you see how it cuts, and I don't know, I haven't seen the full video, you probably have, but it cuts to her with something like blood or something dripping out of her mouth. To me, this doesn't seem authentic.
Yeah,
but if you've used it multiple times, I'd like to know your take on it.
Yeah.
Well, the part of the thing that I think was going on there is that she's kind of like pushing herself off the ground by her two hands with her legs crisscrossed, but she's also biting her own tongue.
She's biting her tongue.
Oh, okay.
So that's where the blood is coming from, is that she actually bites her own tongue. Pretty.
That's pretty graphic, actually.
Yeah.
And there's the element of they went to the trouble of making the Ouija board look extremely authentic to where it's very homemade. It's not like a regular Ouija board, number one. Number two, so that makes it look staged. But the fact that she's biting her tongue and there's actually blood there, unless it's fake blood. I don't know.
I'd have to see the whole video.
Divided. Yeah.
The next one is this one. I don't know if you've seen this one.
I don't think so, but I'll watch and read
In
the
this
caption.
video, three friends are just hanging out together in a cramped room,
That one
trying
looks
to use a
authentic.
Ouija board to summon
Oh,
whatever
you see the bear in the
spirits they can
background?
find. Suddenly, it looks like they
Ooh.
attract some supernatural attention. You can't hear any sound, but you can tell things are starting to get interesting by the way they all lean forward and wait for the next answer. The room appears to grow very hot for a moment, and the man in the center...
So yeah, we don't need sound for this one because there's no sound, but you see the bear moving in the background?
Yeah.
The motion of the bear. What is your take on it?
Well, it kind of goes back and forth, which is interesting. Like if it was just a string pull or something, it would have like one direction of motion and that's about it.
Right.
So, I mean, it might still just be a fake, but these guys, I don't know. A lot of this stuff now, he's lifting it up.
Why would they even think about the bear unless...
I think somebody caught it moving and was like, hey, that's moving. And that's why they all stood up and looked at it. But
the motion does look...
It looks a little fake to me.
No, I was going to say the opposite. It looks less than pulled because a lot of videos you'll see them and it's clearly a string being pulled and it's like, oh, poltergeist activity and stuff like that. The bear is actually moving its head in a circle.
Look at the guys, though. Start it over again and look at the guys and look at the guy on the far left because he's the one that points it out. And is he actually looking at the bear when it's moving?
Okay, so
that's
this guy,
what I want to know.
This guy points it out?
No, the one on the far
guy.
left. That guy. That guy's the one that points it out. So is he
guy.
even looking at the bear when it's moving? No, he's not.
No.
So it's staged.
And the way it's
I think it's
back and
staged.
stuff is very interesting.
That's what you got to look at. You got to look at where the
he looks
people
at
that
it.
are claiming that, oh, I saw it moving. He wasn't even
Yeah.
looking at the bear when it was moving.
Oh, that's a
And
good point.
He waits until after it stops moving before he points it out.
That's a good point.
So I think that
Yeah.
one was staged.
And I got to say, ladies and gentlemen, Brent is definitely an expert and a skeptic as well.
Mhm.
There was a Bigfoot video that came out a few years ago, and it was a drone capturing Bigfoot. And I was like, this looks pretty authentic. And Brent was like, nope, it's fake. It's fake. It's fake. And I was like,
You
think
are
so?
really
And he's
good,
like,
Brent.
He's like, yeah, if you look at the angle, it's just a little bit too in shot. And then sure enough, the guy came out with another video showing that the video was fake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually,
So Brent nails him.
Yeah, I learned a lot of the things about, a lot of the skepticism I've developed has been because of you, Brent, and I appreciate you. You've taught us a lot about how to spot fakes and how to, discern.
Somebody in the chat pointed it out. Look at this. You see this cabinet here? If it's a hand puppet, somebody can be inside.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Moving it around like
Moving
that.
yeah, that's not hard at all.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it all just seems to set up.
The other
Yeah.
giveaway too is that they're not reacting like they're afraid. They're like, oh, what's going on? Like people that are afraid, I mean, the adrenaline kicks on and they move like boom. Like they'll
Yeah,
stomp
like
you
if I thought I saw a bear moving, I'd be like jumping out of my chair immediately and going, "What the fuck?" No.
Yeah. And the other thing that I always look for with these kind of videos is, and it's something that you'll see a lot. if like there was this one guy that was in like a hotel room, and he's like, oh yeah, lots of activity in here. It's been pretty crazy. And he goes around and he looks towards the he's got one of those rooms that have like a kind of the bathroom counter there, but like with a sink, and then there's another room with a toilet or whatever. But he looks over to the one where there's a don't chew on that. My cat's chewing on something. Where there's like a towel laying there, and he's like, oh yeah, I don't know, something's gonna happen. Well, he managed to pan over to that point, and suddenly the towel jerks off the counter, and it jerks, towards him. And then he's like, oh man, this is crazy. And then he turns over to the other counter where the TV is, and then there's a phone there, and the phone is just sitting there on the hook, and suddenly it pulls, and it pulls in his direction too. So everything that happened towards this guy, and you can never see him clearly at all. It's always like one hand was out of the way and stuff, and so the guy's pulling stuff. He's got it all wired and strung so that he can just turn and look around, and this amazing stuff is happening. But I mean, if the activity always goes one direction, that's a pretty big giveaway.
Yeah, and as you pointed out, if it's too lined up in the shot as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wish we had the camera rolling when that thing happened earlier. I would love to have that on camera, but it was something that we weren't expecting, so we didn't have the cameras rolling,
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So this one here. All right, this one I don't think requires sound, but I'm going to play the sound for the audience. Basically,
it's a Pazuzu board.
Well, a third-person film.
It's a Pazuzu board. Yeah.
The spirit spells Lisa.
The spirit spells Lisa.
And Pazuzu is not a good spirit
and then
to begin with.
The planchette moves by itself to X.
No.
So it'll do a
underneath the table. No.
So the cameraman's inspecting above, below the table.
After this, the pointer dashes to the letter X on its own. Neither one of them appear to have pushed the pointer to the letter X. It seems to have moved there completely on its own.
Can you give me just a minute, brother?
Oh yeah, for sure. Sure.
Yeah, I'll be right back.
Okay, no problem.
Maybe it's a
gimmick board. I never even thought about that possibility.
Maybe a Pazuzu board is meant to do that. Versus Zozo. When I look up Pazuzu board, I get Zozo, Villains Wiki, according to fandom. It's
well, they say Pazuzu is the demon of the Ouija board.
Right.
And that comes, in my opinion, from The Exorcist, where Pazuzu was the main antagonist. In the book, it reveals it. In the movie, it reveals it, but they don't call Pazuzu by his name. But the big Pazuzu statue is like a dead giveaway if you know the symbolism and everything like that. And as we talked about before, the book has a lot more detail than the movie does. But that's where the Pazuzu comes in as far as the Ouija board. And then you have Zaza and Zozo and Zuzu, the Zo or Za that the board likes to do a lot. But a gimmick board, I never thought about that. That would be fun to creep some people out with.
So this is an interesting timeline I just found. And you know me, I love timelines. So I'm going to add these. In 1951, Roland Doe was a boy who got possessed by Zozo, Pazuzu. After using a Ouija board, he was eventually exorcised after a violent process by priests. 1972, in Los Angeles, a mother named Doris Blither used a Ouija board and found herself haunted by a dark entity which sought her and her family harm. 1977 to 1979, Enfield poltergeist in Enfield, England, where a family got plagued by a malevolent force. 2012, Tombstone, Nevada. A small group of soldiers were off duty and decided to mess about with a Ouija board just for fun. They made contact with an alleged spirit who told them he had died in Tombstone. On the way back, one of the men got possessed and almost killed the others in a car crash before the demon left him and he regained consciousness. In 2019, YouTuber Kyle Godfrey attempted to contact Zozo at 3 a.m. on his Ouija board and made contact with an entity who said it was Zozo. However, Kyle took it further and asked the spirit if there was a specific phone number for Zozo. The entity gave him a number, 417-666-6666. And when the number was called, the lights went out in his room during the phone call and poltergeist activity followed. When Kyle ended the call, the lights came back on.
You have her phone?
I do.
You know we got to call the number.
I knew you were going to do that. And with my phone, of course.
Well, I don't have mine handy.
No, I'm not going to do it. You know what time it is? 10:23. It was 23
behind that woman on the plane whenever she was freaking out and saying that that man is not motherfucking real. And it was 23 behind her whenever she was giving that interview where she was like, I can't talk about this. And it's 10:23
give me
right
my
now.
phone and I'll do it.
I'm just saying.
Okay, let me see.
I think there's something to this. Okay.
Do you
Here we
remember
go.
when we called what was it? 800 666 qubit?
666.
Hold on. Okay. So Brent just rejoined us.
66.
Let me bring the audience up to speed with what's going on here.
Okay.
So Brent, Sheree was just talking about can you
All right.
Let me have it. Okay.
Okay. In 2019, there was a YouTuber, Kyle Godfrey. We were talking about Zozo, Pazuzu, and Kyle Godfrey attempted to contact Zozo at 3 a.m. on his Ouija board and made contact with an entity who said it was Zozo. However, Kyle took it further and asked if the spirit, asked him if there was a specific phone number for Zozo. The entity gave him a number 417-666-6666, and when the number was called, the lights went out in his room during the phone call and poltergeist activity followed. When Kyle ended the call, the lights came back on.
All right, let's see.
So we're going to call 417-666-6666 at 10:23 a.m. and it was 23 behind the woman during those interactions with the plane, with saying the guy wasn't real.
Your call cannot be completed at this time. Please try.
It's definitely haunted.
That's interesting how it's.
They don't pay their bills.
Yep.
It goes.
The creepiest phone number, though. Have you ever dialed, Brent, 1-800-666-QBIT?
No.
That is the creepiest phone number. That's like the death phone number.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Should we call it?
Yeah.
Hold on. Where's my camera?
There it is.
1-800-666-QBIT.
Uh-huh.
Thank you for calling Pfizer Pharmaceutical Customer Service. Our office is currently closed. Please call during our regular business.
Oh, that's so evil.
I am not kidding.
1-800-666-QBIT.
Qubits. Qubit.
Qubit
is a quantum bit.
Is a quantum bit.
And that's what they're installing.
Quantum bits.
That is what they're installing.
I like your take on this, Brent. A gimmick Ouija board. So okay.
Magician supply stores have those available. You can buy those, the gimmicked. The kind of the big giveaway is that who the hell's ever heard of a Pazuzu board? I mean, of course the Zozo thing is kind of part of Ouija board lore, but where are you going to find that board? If it looks like the Parker brothers or whatever, then it's like, oh, that's a little more interesting. But I'm sure they couldn't license that from Parker brothers, so they came up with their own little design to make a gimmicked board.
Yeah. I think they made a gimmicked board with a magnet that goes to X.
Or on the other hand, Prue continues to
All right.
experience a
So
high
this one,
concentration of Ouija board possessions.
she was playing on the
This
Ouija
time
board.
in the city of High-End, Blanca Jovana is only 16 years old when she and her other friends began to use the board for fun. Like so many others, she is not aware of the board's true danger, and she is swallowed by evil for her ignorance. It's unclear how many times Blanca and her friends used the board to summon demons before she was finally overtaken by one. Maybe she became possessed after using the board just once. Or perhaps it took days of repeated attempts before a demon found its way from the board into her soul.
And this is the audio. I'm sorry that you can't hear it.
Exactly how the demon
She's
got her
yelling
is
in a deeper demonic kind of voice, but it doesn't sound like she
doesn't
wouldn't
sound
be
like
capable of making that
Right.
sound.
It sounds natural.
But the fact that it's on the news and stuff like that, does that give it cred, or is that just propaganda?
Well, I'll tell you that in the Hispanic countries, they take this stuff a lot more seriously than
Extremely
we do up in
seriously.
the USA.
Yeah.
Like news in Mexico will appear, you know, I mean, police and military units will be called out if there's lights in the sky, that kind of thing, you know, whereas here it's just like, yeah, okay, you know, hit your meds. It's time to hang up. So they definitely give it a lot more reverence, especially the spiritual stuff in the Hispanic countries.
Yeah, and we were just talking about earlier, Brent. We were talking about an Islamic country. I think it was Pakistan or something. No, Afghanistan maybe, where a girls' school. They claimed that there were demonic faces in the trees. So they cut down all the trees around the school because they really believed that there were dark spirits inside of the trees.
Sure. Yeah. I mean,
They take it seriously.
Yeah, exactly. I think they definitely do. I don't know about that girl's case. Now the problem is that not only can I not hear the video, but if you're talking during the video, I can't hear it either. It's like it kills both the sounds.
Oh, so if I'm not talking,
so if we're not talking, can you hear it?
No, I don't hear the video anyway.
Oh, and you don't hear me either. Oh,
Yeah,
gotcha. Okay.
Your words real choppy as well.
Yeah, I've got to sort that out.
We've got to work.
So there was one that we played earlier, but I want to play it again and I want to get your take on it. It was a Snow White statue in Mexico that opens and closes her eyes. Have you seen this one?
I might have. I've seen a lot of these, but yeah, I'd like to see it anyway.
Okay. So I won't play the sound, but there's a statue right there. And the video I saw earlier was less grainy than this, so I saw confirmed the less grainier version. Actually, you know what? I'm sorry, I don't even have it on the screen.
Yeah, I was going to say I can't
Okay,
see it.
sorry about that.
No worries.
Okay.
Oh, well, this is that amusement park, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have seen this.
So, did you catch that?
Yep, the blinking eyes. Yeah, yep. There was a whole series of things that happened, including seeing a shadow apparition on some stands near there.
Yes. Yes. We were looking for the one with the dress. Do you remember the
There was
dress?
another one where these urban explorers go out there and you can see this figure moving in the background. And then you find this statue in the back as if it was being discarded. And it didn't blink that time, but the blinking statues, I've seen more than one of these.
The big problem with those for me is that it takes literally anybody with a little bit of know-how about 3 minutes with a video program. I mean, those are so easy to fake, with masking and with layers and such. I mean, you can totally lock it in and even have motion capture. So if the camera moves, the animation still stays in the place it's supposed to. So I do a little bit of that with a program called Blender. That's a free program, but you know, I'm not saying that it doesn't exist. It's just, it's really hard to take those things at face value.
No, I understand. When we went to there it is.
I'm just playing it in the background. Yeah, I'm not playing the audio.
Okay. Yeah, those.
That's what we do in our free time now. We go to cemeteries.
We go to cemeteries and play Randonautica and you know, Randonautica has taken us to some weird places. I don't know, Brent, if you ever saw the one where we actually found a barrel. We asked for take us to death. Yeah, of course, being stupid, and it took us to a barrel and behind a convenience store. And it was rusted over on the top of it, so it had been there for a long time. And I think there was a body in that barrel, and we called it in actually, because we were sure that was the case. I don't know, we never followed up on it, but I'm pretty sure that was that, because those kids. Did you hear about those kids with the Randonautica playing Randonautica, and what they found on the beach, on the rocks? Do you hear about that?
I don't know.
Yeah,
the ones in Las Vegas.
No. This was in Seattle. Like they said, take me to death, and they found bodies in suitcases.
They found bodies in suitcases
on the shore.
On the shore.
And cops are called. News story.
Yeah, there's
all
something
that
to
stuff.
the Randonautica experience where it is. somehow I think what it is the metaverse, because Qubit, when you look up Qubit, and I think that this is why Pfizer has something to do with it, is because what they're installing is the metaverse, and in the metaverse everything's all connected. Everything's all connected, and it even has to do with the satellites seeing everything all happening all at once, and so it's almost like the technology is all-knowing, and you're tapping into that all-knowing technology when you're playing Randonautica, and so it's giving you basically, it's letting you tap into way more information than you're supposed to be able to at any given time, especially if you've got multiple people like me, Chris, and 300, 500, 1,000 people on YouTube all at the same time manifesting the same thing. Yeah, this is the kind of stuff that we're finding.
So let me get your take on this, Brent. The merger of technology and the spirit realm. Some people would argue and say that the disillusionment of, or dissolvement, I should say, of analog actually hurt paranormal investigation because you can capture more on analog tape, on analog film, so on and so forth. With analog film, you have the problem of double exposure. And a lot of these photos that people find sometimes are just double exposed. You know, you've got one picture on top of another. The flip side to that is the digital, as you said, spirits and entities and things like that can interact with electronics a lot easier. So would you say that modern technology, spirit boxes on phones, things like that, are equal or better or worse? Or, you know, what are the tools of the trade?
You know, I think that there's probably pros and cons to everything, right? Like there's good arguments that in like EVPs, electronic voice phenomena, that people that still use the jeez, you brat. Is
that Anubis?
Yeah, he's just being a lounge lizard. But the magnetic media.
Sekhmet and Bastet are here. They're up on their trees over there.
Sorry?
Sekhmet and Bastet are up on their trees over there.
Oh,
we got the whole pantheon gathered.
The pantheon.
Sure. Yeah, this is Pikachu, but his name was Poseidon, believe it or not. He came to us with that name. So, but we changed it because he's a little cross-eyed and a little dorky, but he's hilarious. But he didn't look like a Poseidon to us. But I was going to say the magnetic medias are long considered to be superior in terms of EVPs and stuff like that, catching spirit voices and such. I think digital photography has created a bunch of monsters in all of this because everybody's got orbs everywhere. And well, I think it has everything to do with the digital process and getting light, you know, bouncing back from objects back into the aperture and creating these orbs. And it's not, well, you got loved ones around you. No, you got dust. I think there's a lot of that.
Yeah, a lot of dust. Yep.
Yeah. And I think that, you know, it was actually a guest on your show years ago that I heard say this, and I was like, oh my God, that's brilliant. He said, you know, if you look at that's, you know, the whole area of spirit photography and orbs in photography, there was one correlation to when these all showed up all of a sudden. It was digital photography when the digital cameras came. And so I think it's just it's not as reliable. I'm not saying people never capture spirit orbs, but I've seen spirit orbs with my own eyes, and they don't look like these nebulous dust balls. They look, the two that I saw look like little suns. I mean, they look like these little suns about the size of a 50-cent piece. And I'm not saying there couldn't be translucent little balls of stuff running around too, but and maybe the digital sensors are just more sensitive and can pick up more, but it's too many false positives. And so I think but it's a give and take, right? Like, I'll tell you what is cool is like, this is an app that I use quite a bit, and I've been using it for a while now, including on the live shows, and it's called Spirit Talker. And it's an app.
Oh, we need to get that one.
Download it.
And it's pretty crazy. But I'll tell you what I have noticed with these phone apps is that, and actually the father of ITC, Instrumental Transcommunication from Germany years and years ago, said, the more time you spend using an app, the more effective it will become. And so I think that kind of speaks to the fact that we're somehow a part of that process still, that maybe by us, I don't know, having an acquiescence or an opening or a willingness to communicate helps the effectiveness of that happen. But I saw this app first on a bunch of YouTube channels, and I kept seeing it pop up, and I know you can't be sure what you're watching on YouTube, whether or not it's, really happening like you're seeing it, but there was a lot of uncut videos that, there was no cuts or breaks in it when this thing was spitting out stuff that was really, really shocking to me. And I've used it live on the show and caught some really stuff. And one night it was spitting out Latin at me, Latin words.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, why in the hell would it do that? But I'm telling you what, there's something to this stuff. And, perhaps it is, as you were saying, and as we were talking about before, the fact that spirits can interact with electronics much more easily, I think. So in a lot of ways, it probably helps. But yeah.
Fire it up.
Fire it up right now.
Fire it up. Let's do this.
Well, Crystal made a good point. She's like, if there's disembodied spirits, at the cemetery, at the video we were just showing a minute ago, just release them. And I think that's what we were doing, right? I mean, if we found any disembodied spirits that were still hanging around and you were kind of stuck, we were telling them, it's okay. You can, we release you. It's okay to move on to the next plane. We're sorry for what happened to you. And she's saying that basically that it's wrong to do. I don't know if she's saying that it's wrong to do what we were doing, but I think the Cecil was a nasty. I don't. What do you think?
Hold on. We're gonna
I'm
do
sorry.
the spirit box.
Well, I'm just waiting. It's not saying anything yet, so it's being extraordinarily quiet so far.
I'm being too loud.
We got that with ours too when we were at the cemetery at first.
Yeah,
And then
yeah. Sometimes it takes a while.
Yeah.
It'll just start spitting stuff out. Like, whoa, there comes one.
Mistake.
Yeah, and it talks too if you turn on the speaker. So
Ooh.
it's pretty crazy. What's the mistake? We'll see if it says anything. And I often found that it would chime in just as I was talking, like say things that were kind of relevant. But there was as far as the Cecil, I think the Cecil is probably a pretty creepy place. But I'll tell you, I interviewed one guy that had an experience there, and he thinks that it's possible. He didn't want to go on the record and do this live, but when he stayed there a bunch of times, he was in a band and would be in LA all the time. He said that the guards were up to some really weird stuff there. He said that he had a guard trying to talk him into going up under the roof of the hotel, and he was like, no, he got a really bad vibe from it. But there is hauntings there as well. He said he heard a bunch of activity in a room next to him, and when he complained to the desk, they said nobody's in that room. So, but he did imply that possibly the guards had something to do with the whole Elisa Lam thing, because he saw them trying to, like, a few times trying to bring people to the roof, which was all chained off. So,
I'm glad you said that, because I've been feeling that, and we've been talking about doing a little ayahuasca thing there, just to see if we can reverse the portal.
And
because my working hypothesis is that the Cecil is a vortex, and it's reversed. It's letting things in instead of sucking things out.
Yeah.
And so a switch needs to be flipped to where that whole portal gets reversed, to where it's pulling the bad energy away instead of letting it in. But
Sure.
I felt really apprehensive about the whole staff there, the whole environment there, all that. It's just,
I felt like the staff had a lot to do with her
I'm a predator.
Protector.
Oh, protector. Oh, okay. I'm a protector.
Yeah.
Oh,
I guess it's
that's interesting that it said that right at that point where we're talking about that. It's like, no, don't worry. I'm a protector.
Yep. So it's a cool app. I've really been having fun with it, but I've noticed that the more I've used it, the more relevant the responses become. So we'll see if anything worthwhile comes out.
So the big question is this. Are the spirits there in the area, or are they talking from anywhere in the world, or from any dimension, or whatever? You know, I mean, we go to different locations, we go to cemeteries and so on and so forth, but name.
My name is Brent. What's your name? Do you have a name? Or a name that I can call you? Okay, so here's my take on it. And that's interesting that you should say that, because when I first started using these, I always considered it was something that's just in your area. Like it's in the proximity of you. However, I was using it on my phone, using it on my show, doing a live demonstration of it, and it kept giving me these weird things, and I didn't really know what it related to.
Burial.
That's your name, is Burial?
Burial.
But what did happen was somebody called in and said, I think I know who you're talking to. I was like, what? So somebody over in the Midwest called me and said they believed it was their sister.
Ooh.
And then it kept continuing to give messages. It was like I was doing a reading on my show suddenly. And it gave her the nickname that her dad had for her who passed away, and her grandpa's name and stuff like that. I was like, I was blown away, because I always figured it must be in the proximity that I'm in. But it's funny that you should say that, because I learned live on my show that that's not necessarily the case at all.
Wow. I was thinking about that when we were playing with the board earlier, and thinking, are these things actually here, or are we communicating with them from somewhere else?
It's like a party line.
We're lost here.
Cast away.
Oh, right when we start talking about their
answer.
location.
Yeah. Maybe they're lost.
They're lost. They're everywhere. They're everywhere.
Yep. Well, that's my belief for sure, is that we live, like, if we suddenly could become aware of all of the spirits, it says free.
Yeah, we're free.
We're free. We're free too.
We're free.
You don't need to be bound to anything.
Yeah.
Does the letter Q mean anything to you?
No, not particularly, other than Star Trek.
Okay. Because I was asking the board.
Books, if that means anything.
Books. Okay.
Look it up in
I was
books.
asking the board, whatever I was talking to, I was like, are you waiting to transition? Yes. What are you waiting for? Q. And I'm like, Q? What is Q? And it wouldn't elaborate any further. It just went to Q. It just kept going over to Q over and over and over again. And I was like, a quantum portal? A quantum point? I don't know. And I was just guessing there, but there seems to be like, I've contacted a couple different entities. Some that are not human, some that are human waiting to transition, and some who are stuck. And there seems to be like this transitional point to where some seem to be coming back to reincarnation, others seem to be going to another dimension, but they're waiting on something.
Sure. Well, yeah, I mean, it could be. I don't know what Q would mean, though, if maybe they're in a queue, the QUE.
Oh.
Oh, they're in line, waiting in line.
Like the line at Disney, yeah. They just gotta wait.
It says around now.
Yeah, it says around.
Just waiting around.
Mm-hmm. Another one said the ferryman was late.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
So maybe they're in a queue for the ferryman.
Hmm.
Maybe some kind of disruption to the pathway into the next world. Who knows?
Wow.
Yeah.
This is interesting stuff, man.
It really is.
It's exhilarating. Yeah. It's
I really
fun.
like this app, and I would just say spend some time with it. See if it seems relevant. I mean, it spits out nonsense too. I mean, I don't know what books means, or some like mistake.
Well, Sheree has a book right there in front of her.
Yeah.
And what book is that?
I'm going to tell you about it, Brent. It's called The Dictionary of Demons.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
It's really neat. It's really
we were
neat.
reading from the Dictionary of Demons.
And you know what's interesting is this was sent to us for free as a promo copy because we had Michelle Bellinger on. Have you ever had Michelle on the broadcast?
No,
yeah,
she's from Paranormal State, isn't she? She's from
yeah,
that show.
Yeah, she actually wrote this. And we had her on the broadcast.
Oh,
and
dude, you need to have Michelle
she
on,
was
dude.
Really,
She's freaking awesome.
She was really, really neat.
Yeah.
You guys would get along great. I can't believe we haven't had her on.
We'll send you her contact.
Yeah. We'll send you her contact after the show because you guys would get along
Let's
great.
see if the spirit box says we should send Brent contact.
Do we send Brent?
Michelle Bellinger.
Michelle Bellinger and Brent would get along great, and I think that'd be a great show. That'd be a great roundtable, even. Because I think
Torment of the soul.
Torment of the soul. It's a torment of the soul that Michelle Bellinger on.
Just talking about my interviewing.
I was thinking Brent's going to wind up running off with her.
Her torment. No, his torment. It's she's going to torment his soul.
Yeah.
If he has her on.
Mrs. Portal for me if that was the case.
That's what I was thinking. It's a torment of the soul. Do you remember that airplane video we saw earlier? This woman is beating the hell out of this guy because he's on Facebook and he's looking at other girls. And she's on the airplane and they're both getting kicked off the airplane. And she's like, "Oh, I assaulted you," and she takes the laptop and bam, smacks him.
So that's assaulting you.
Ma'am, you're assaulting me. Oh, I'm assaulting you. Bam. And it was shocking at first, but then when we realized that they were a couple, I was
because
like,
they were a couple, and he was looking at other women on Facebook.
I was like, that's why I got with a güera, not a Latina.
Yep.
Oh man.
That's hilarious.
All right, so we're going on 4 hours now. Should we wrap it up here in a moment?
Yeah.
What does the spirit box say?
I just shut it off.
Oh, okay. It's okay.
But I think the spirits never sleep.
So what's coming up on the portal?
Actually, next week, I'm getting an echo. It's terrible. My own voice is hitting me in the head. Next week, Don and I are going to be heading to Vernal, Utah. So there's a Phenomenon is happening in Vernal, Utah next week from the 5th or the 6th through the 9th. And so I'm heading there. And then after that, while I'm there, we're meeting up with a couple of other podcasters from a show called Supernatural Station who have property on the Uinta Basin near Skinwalker Ranch. So on Friday night, we're going to investigate at that property, which is right next to Skinwalker Ranch.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So I'm getting all my gear charged up, all my detectors and sensors and cameras. So trying to get all ready for the big hoorah.
That is awesome, man.
That is awesome.
So tell people where they can check it out.
Well, you can check everything out if you do. One website is all you need. It's paranormalportal.net. And has all the links to both the podcast, to the YouTube, to the TikTok, to the social medias. If you want to stay in touch, by all means, if you or anybody you know or have a lot of paranormal experiences and wouldn't mind being a guest, hit the interview me button and it'll bring up a calendar app where you can pick a time and date that we can connect and tell your story. Love to hear from you.
Awesome.
So,
awesome.
That'll do it.
That's
Brent,
awesome.
Love your brother. And man, it's great talking to you.
Yeah, you too. I'm glad we caught up tonight. Thanks for having me on. That was a surprise, but I'm just glad to see you guys streaming. I miss tuning in.
Oh yeah. We've been working on a million different things. The problem is we've got so many different ideas that when we sit down and we're just like our last show is just all over the place. It was literally
so
all over the place.
Disorganized.
So many things. What I've been into lately is exorcisms and paranormal and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And we read The Exorcist, which I've never done before. And the book is really different from the movie. I mean, there's a lot of similarities and some of it was word for word, but the exorcism, for example, lasts several days instead of just one day like it does in the movie. He has a conversation with a detective. It's more of like a detective novel. And the book gets into like so much more detail and depth and like what people are thinking and all kinds of stuff like that. And it actually begs the question, is there actually a demon inside of her, or is she a victim of some kind of abuse? And when you read between the lines, it starts to like, you start to add all this up, like Captain Howdy, for example. In the book, it goes into the fact that her father's name is Howard. But in the movie, it doesn't. And so that's where Captain Howdy came from.
Yeah.
And then there's this one scene in there, she spins her head and she goes, "You know what she did, your cunting daughter?" she has this really weird British
accent.
In the book, it
suddenly.
elaborates on it that she actually killed Burke Dennings, who was the director, and that during the exorcism, Burke comes out. In the movie,
And says, I deserve to be in this body.
Kara says,
He
there's
killed
3
me.
different personalities. Do you want to know? And Marin is like, what for? But in the book,
There's only the one.
she goes into Burke Dennings as one of the personalities, and of course the devil, then Reagan, and so Burke was up in her room doing something when he killed her. When she killed him, and there's a lot of innuendos that he was probably messing with her.
He's trying to put the temperature thing in her mouth, and she's like, "Get that away from my mouth."
There's so many things that it starts to connect in the book.
Yeah, bite it
so we
off.
wanted to break that down and really get into the differences between the two, and ask the question: is this really an exorcism, or, as they say in the book, which they don't say in the movie, there's a conversation between Karis and the mother, and the mother said, I see exorcism as kind of a shock treatment. And at the end of it, Karis asks her, do you believe in God? And she's like, no, not really. And he's like, well, do you believe in the devil? And she's like, yeah, absolutely. Now I do. And he's like, well, if there's a devil, there must be a God then. She's like, that's an interesting thing to ponder. But they actually go into the exorcism based on it being a shock treatment kind of therapy for her, rather than a spiritual exorcism kind of deal.
Right.
So it goes back to what you were saying earlier
Psychological.
about the Catholics believing that there's no demons and that there's something wrong.
And no, that there's no ghosts.
They believe there's demons. They just don't believe there's ghosts.
Yeah, you said there's no demons. You mean there's no ghosts?
Oh, there's no ghosts. Okay.
Yeah.
It was.
They're all demons.
It was alluding to the idea that exorcism is more of a ritual because the person believes in possession, the person also believes in exorcism, and so that's what it kind of takes out of it. Yeah, man, you should read the book.
Yeah, well, I just interviewed Richard Gallagher, who is the psychiatrist I was telling you about. That's part of the International Order of Exorcists, and he has a book coming out called Demonic Foes. And he was telling me about an exorcism. He wasn't there to witness it personally, but he talked with the people that were the 8 witnesses. And during this exorcism, the person levitated for a full 45 minutes in the air. So,
oh, really?
It's pretty easy. Yeah. And I interviewed another exorcist from Illinois. His name's Dr. Mike Driscoll. He's Father Mike Driscoll, and he was telling me about seeing people's eyes turn black, seeing them turn like serpentine into like snake slits and stuff. So, maybe they're reptilians, but they might be infested with demons. You never know.
Interesting. Yeah, we got a lot of stuff planned for Halloween.
Yeah,
this was supposed to be a Halloween show.
The whole October,
and then that Ouija board experience was
be
just like, okay, we got to do the show today. So
badass. Yeah,
like,
no,
we need to
do it. We need to do that today. But
anyways, we love you, brother,
man.
And we'll talk soon.
Love you, man.
All right, man. You guys take care. I'm going to disconnect.
All right, take care.
That was awesome.
That was awesome.
That was great.
That was.
It's been a long time since we've had him on.
I know.
That was great.
I didn't expect the show to go in that direction, but I'm very glad it did.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we got to reconnect. And I think we should have Emily Moyer on again soon. And do a follow-up on the Cecil Hotel based on new information.
I don't think I'm going to see.
You don't think Cecil?
It's not the spirits. It's the people. It's like, I think that was confirmation from Brent.
Yeah, that was confirmation.
I just keep having this vision of being on that roof.
Well, no, I think that we know exactly what's happening now. Those people are doing rituals up there, and it has nothing to do with a 1408 type of situation where the place itself is cursed. It's that those people are performing those rituals there and drawing things there, and if they were gotten rid of, all of that would be gotten rid of. So I was just saying, we need to ask her if she knows anything about those security guards and people like that. And I guess not. That's maybe not. a direction we need to
I
go
think
in.
there might be a battle for somebody else, but
Yeah, that's somebody else's
I will
fight.
meditate on it and see, and
It's somebody else's fight.
It's
maybe is what I'm getting.
I don't know. I had a creepy
Down
feeling
inside.
about the employees there, about all that. I mean, if we did it, we'd have to do it in complete
Those the employees were in
cover
on the whole
of
thing.
darkness,
And I think, once we broke the code tonight of that, I think you're right. It's a situation where it's not our fight, and that's something between parties that have nothing to do with us. And it needs to be worked out between them.
Yeah, I mean, the idea came in because there was so much darkness there. And I was like, you know what? This would be a good test, a good test of oneself, a good test of one's consciousness. Can I really stand in the middle of all that and stare it down and be confident in my own power and all that? But at the same time, I can't have 3D shit distracting me.
Right.
It's like when we were in the pyramid, we couldn't have anybody else in there with us because we couldn't have the distractions of other people in there and constantly worrying about, okay, what's going on in hyperspace? Okay, what's going on in the physical? Back and forth and back and forth and back and forth.
Yeah, but I do think like the Boulderado Hotel and 1408, and this is something we need to talk about on a show in the future, I guess. Unless we've talked about it recently, I don't think we have, though. 1408, somebody mentioned, is one of their favorite Stephen King movies. I think 1408 is not just one hotel room in one place. I think there are a lot of hotels that are like the Cecil or the Boulderado or places like that really are cursed, and it's not just that people are performing rituals and that's why it's cursed. I think there are places that are cursed because they were built on, like that abandoned amusement park was actually built on a cemetery.
Oh, that's true. We forgot to mention that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was built on a cemetery, and they say that they didn't move the bodies.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I agree.
They just moved the tombstones, which is like straight out of Poltergeist, but
yeah, and
in theory, I'm looking for that video from Boulderado. I don't know if I can find it.
Yeah, it's as far as underground. I mean, they've been basically there's something going on in those tunnels, and I don't know if I want to get into it at all right now. But
the tunnels in Las Vegas?
Yeah.
Okay, so
there's some weird stuff going on.
I was watching a video about this earlier, and I think that there's multiple things going on over there. I think there's the selling of people. I think there might be I was trying not to use that word on YouTube, but I think there might be some kind of entities down there, interdimensional or possessed humans. But I know for a fact that down there, I'm sorry, I'm trying to find this video at the same time I'm talking. This video I was watching earlier, they were going down to a charity, and the charity was called Holy Smoke. And Holy Smoke Charity supposedly goes down there and gives out blunts to people who live under the inside of the tunnels. Now, they don't get the blunts from somebody who grows it at the house. They don't get the blunts from anybody like that. They get it from somebody who is down there in the tunnel itself.
Right.
And there was a YouTuber that was going down there to investigate the tunnels. I can't find this video. So there was a YouTuber who was going down there to investigate, and the charity, Holy Smoke, said, we'll give you, we'll take you down there and show you around the tunnels if you give us a $900 donation. And so he gave him the $900 donation. As soon as they get down there, these guys look like they're on something. Yeah. The video?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they look like they're on something. So
it's a brief breakdown, and it's just a quick clip on TikTok.
Okay. That's good, because I didn't want to play the whole thing,
Yeah.
because the whole thing was like 20 minutes
Yeah,
long.
it's really,
Hi,
really
Tyler.
long.
This is Paisley from Holy Smoke. I understand that you intend to go into the tunnels without us or another local organization. I just wanted to inform you that that is a very bad idea. Not only will you not get the truth, at best, you will be run out. I wanted to warn you that we had 2 encampments that expected you guys, and when you weren't with us and we said why, I wonder what you said. And they said, so if they show up, would you get in trouble if we fuck them up? If they're not with you, they're not welcome. $900 donation to Paisley and her organization, and they put a hit on us because I don't want to film with them. We tried to give you an in, but it looks like you don't understand how to do charity work. I'm advising you to not go into the tunnels. They will not welcome you or anyone else not associated with the charities they trust. I'm just telling you the reality that our folks don't want to be documented and without prior consent and knowing exactly how they're going to be portrayed. It's called scripting, something we don't do.
So that was a
very
brief part of that video I was watching earlier. But this guy went down there to document the tunnels. He'd made a $900 donation to this charity. This charity then buys blunts from somebody that lives down there, hands them out, supposedly feeds the people down there, and then they started threatening this guy to not go down there. And this guy still went down there anyways. But what I started to see is a whole drug operation. Where
huge.
they're selling drugs to these people that are in the tunnels. And they're cornering that market right there. And it could even be more than that. But I mean, they're taking advantage of people who are literally at the lowest of the low.
At the lowest point.
And this
that
is
you could
supposedly
possibly
a
be
charity.
in the United States.
It's a farce.
Yeah.
It's
not a charity. They call themselves misfit missionaries. They're not misfit missionaries. They're not missionaries of any type. They're taking advantage of people that are at the lowest point that you could be in the United States at this point in time. And not in the entire world, because there's places like, I guess, like in India, or we saw places in Egypt that were worse, but this is not any decent way of living. And if you're going to take $900 from somebody and then threaten them if they don't do what you say, there's a name for that. And it's called illegal.
Yeah, you should see this exchange. So
it's ridiculous.
There's something much, much, much bigger going on, but I really don't want to touch it because I don't like
I don't like to shit in my
backyard. It was like when we were
in Colorado.
Littleton, I didn't really want to touch Columbine because we were a little bit too close to the area.
Yeah, but there was a lot of stuff going on with that too.
But when we get out of Vegas, I think
we're going to do some
blow the lid off of things there.
Yeah, we are.
And like I said earlier, we had these big flash floods and a lot of those people died. And I can't help but wonder if it was the city or the state.
Just intentionally
cleaning out some people.
Taking out the garbage that they
And the
think
biggest
is
thing they
garbage.
say down there, it's weird. They say that they don't have an ID. And as soon as they get down there, it's like, somebody takes their ID or something. And they lose their ID and they can't go get an ID or passport or anything like that. And Sherry was like, why can't they go down to the DMV? And I'm like, probably because a lot of those people have warrants.
They have warrants out.
And they're wanted.
And they don't want to turn this. And they even say if they try to not be there and if they try to live anywhere else, they'll go to jail. And that's what that means, is that I've got warrants out. And so, this is the only place the police are too afraid to go. To come and arrest me.
It's creepy down there.
That's how bad it is down there.
I've seen.
It says this way to hell. It says rest in peace, and it had like 4 names. Another one, there's Narcan all over the place. There's like Narcan bottles here, Narcan bottles there. It's slippery. There's blood on the walls. It's really, really bad. And it keeps going further. It goes much, much further down, but they were only willing to go so far in. And then they started hearing this humming sound, and they thought it was the floodgates opening. And it would have made sense that it would be the floodgates opening. Because
it's really sad. Here, let me play
I
this
think
clip.
there's
Smoke,
stuff
a charity
going
in
on.
Las Vegas that feeds the
kill all of us. And it all
Stuff going
started
on
when
down
I met
there.
up with Holy Smoke, a charity in Las Vegas that feeds the homeless in the tunnels. They said they'd go down there with me to bring exposure to this problem and interview the people living there if we donated $900 to their charity. I agreed, and when we met up with them, they told me they hand out blunts that they buy from their plug in the tunnels. And out of nowhere, they said that my friend Kevin, a leading expert in homelessness and drug addiction who showed me Portland, Oregon's drug epidemic, was an asshole for handing out $5 bills to the homeless. I think I'm just gonna let you guys take all this stuff, keep the money, but we don't want to step on any toes here.
Oh, you went too hard on him.
I think he's a good guy, and I think it's bullshit to call him an asshole for no reason.
You apologize
Yeah.
for calling a colleague of yours an asshole?
He's a good guy,
yeah. And there is this higher mission, like you say?
Yep.
You know, to highlight this thing? We could put aside my antisocial faux pas right there.
No, I get it. It's a difference in philosophy, but maybe it's a difference in our philosophy too. And you guys do your thing and hand out the blunts,
No,
but
it's like,
yeah.
it's not about the weed. It's
Yeah, but we front load the conversation with calling the one guy who we've done a video with an asshole and a piece of shit. I wish you guys the best of luck. Please accept the donation kindly. If our goal is to highlight the issue as it is, then maybe we bring out our friend Kevin. So I put Kevin on the next flight.
Yeah, those guys look shady in my opinion.
Yeah, we ran
These
to
guys over
Nautica.
here?
Yeah, we ran to Nautica near that one of those tunnels, and we found shoes and clothes of every age group. Every age group. We found baby clothes. We found little kids' clothes. We found female clothes, female shoes, men's clothes. I mean, we found just ran all over the place. And Chris asked the question, "Why are they here?" And I was like, "Why do you think they make them take off their shoes? Because they don't want them running away." That's what they do when they're abducting people.
Oh.
You can't run away when you're naked and you don't have shoes on.
That's what all the shoes were.
Yeah, that's what all the shoes were. It was really, really disturbing.
That makes sense.
There's a lot of that going on.
That's sad. That's really sad to think that this is happening literally right under our feet.
Mm-hmm.
But, it seems to be par for the course. I mean, we lived in Denver for a while, and I mean, hell, they supposedly underneath Denver is a huge, it's a bigger complex than the city itself.
Mm-hmm.
All going to DIA and everything like that. We move up to
goes
Washington,
south, yeah.
and right down the street, 45 minutes away, is Lake Pend Oreille, which is like the Area 51 of the Navy. It's one of the deepest lakes in the United States, and they run freaking submarines down there. It just seems to be like it's everywhere.
Yeah.
It's like literally everywhere. And
Sound of Freedom was, I appreciate Sound of Freedom brought attention to the issue. I think that people need to do more research if they want to know how bad it is, because that scratches the surface of how bad it is.
The thing is, though,
once you go down that rabbit hole, I'm just warning you, you can't go back.
A lot of
There's no
people
unseeing
can't
it.
handle
there's no
the depths of how far this goes.
You can't unsee it either. Once you see it in your mind, what's actually happening, you can't unsee it and you can't unknow it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. People are talking about Tom Hanks posting the missing shoes and gloves and things like that, and that's exactly what we did when we posted this when we were doing the Randonautica thing. That's what was kind of the trigger to say, hey, something's going on here, because it looked like one of those Tom Hanks photos.
Yeah.
We're like, what the hell is this?
It was very bizarre.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is, in Randonautica, we just said, take us to what you want us to see. And every time we would ask that question, it would take us to shoes. And it was weird. It took us to a school, and in the school, it led us right to a trash can. And inside of the trash can was a pair of shoes. And this was like the fourth or fifth time that we were playing in that day. And it was taking us to shoes. And we were like, what the hell's going on here? And finally it took us to the school. And I was like, oh, okay, good. It's finally taking us somewhere that's not, the middle of nowhere. And sure enough, right in the fucking trash can, discarded pair of shoes.
Yep.
There's something about the shoes.
Yeah.
That's a topic for another show.
That is a topic for another show, and it's also it goes so deep that it would take us hours to get all the way.
Patrice,
so
how are you?
Hey, Patrice,
good to see you,
what
man.
is up?
Yeah. I hope everything's going well. We were about to.
We
end
were
the
actually
show,
about
man,
to end
so
the
I'm
show.
sorry about that,
but you've got a good 4 hours worth of BTV ahead of you to watch. So we hope you guys have had as much fun as we have. As much fun as we have tonight, because we have had a freaking blast.
It has been fun.
Been a lot of fun.
And so we have a lot more shows like this planned, and we're planning out our shows a little bit better now.
Yeah.
And sitting down and going, okay, we're going to talk about this on this day. We're going to talk about this on this day. We're going to talk about this on this day. And always keeping our ears to the ground to hear what's coming up. So,
definitely.
Anything for Mrs. Gio?
Just that we love you guys so much, and we've missed you guys. But like you just said, planning out the shows, I think, is going to be a better experience for everybody, because you guys will know that whenever you see a title, you'll actually be learning about what we're saying we're going to be talking about. So
thank you, Martin.
I think that'll be better.
And everybody in the chat, Aurora, Crystal, and Lori, and Christopher, and Patrice, and Magic, and everybody else.
All of our super chatters, especially
Lori,
all of our patrons. We love you guys so much, and we're just so glad we can be here with you guys.
Definitely. So kiss the one you love right now, because you never know the last time is going to be, and we'll see you even further.
Beyond the veil.
Love you.
Love you guys.